Yep.
We need to take attendance or whatever.
We do. Jenny Sullivan? Here. Mike Wild?
Here.
Matt Simpson?
Here.
Joe LaFura?
Here.
Quorum.
Can I have an approval for the October 2017?
I wasn't here. So I can't remember.
I'll move it.
Can I second that even though I wasn't a member?
Yeah, as long as you read it.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're going to go over the proposals for the audit of the IDA and CDC. Everybody's got this page, new page, new...
Yep.
All right, so Whittemore Down has the audit at the same amount of $8,600. Marvin and Company had a bid of $9,650, and McCarthy and Conlon had a bid of $7,800. Keep in mind too, I guess the only way to look at this, basically, he said I talked to Mike McCarthy, he said if we only give him one of the two, it'll be more, but if he gets both, it's going to be $10,700. And so it'll be about a $2,000 savings. Also, did he give us a letter about the independent thing? He was supposed to send you an email. I talked to him about that, because you know how you always hear that you can't do bookkeeping and you can't do an audit. But he said the type of work that he'll be doing is not anything that requires decision-making on his part or voting or anything, so he feels like he's independent regardless, and he's been doing the same thing for Glens Falls. And so that's something to think about.
For the Glens Falls IDA.
IDA and something else too, right? There's two of them that he's doing. I wish he had. He was supposed to email you like a little letter.
He did not send me that letter, he only sent me the breakdown.
Yeah, because that was the question everybody had, but you know, that's kind of a gray area. But it's really his responsibility more than ours as far as whether he can do that or not. If he has to have a peer review every 3 years, and you know, if they haven't given him a hard time about doing the other ones, I'm not sure why he couldn't do it for us.
He's well versed in Paris as well.
Yep. He has a very good reputation.
Do you have any advice on the independents?
I don't. You know, the research said we can, but I don't know much about accounting.
Yeah,
It just seems like it ought to be separate, but I don't have any...
Is it a question about the independent
Yeah.
auditor versus the auditor? My impression is it needs to be independent, a separate person, but we can look into that.
Yeah, we can...
he disagrees. You know, and he made a case of the fact that he's not making any managerial decisions. And, you know, he's only looking at it and making sure that you're doing the right thing, which is true. He's not doing the bookkeeping, you're doing the bookkeeping. And he's not doing the paras, you're doing the paras, right? So he's just reviewing it. So, and, you know, he's not the kind of guy to be flippant either. So, you know, I'm confident that if he believes he can do it, he can do it. And the other thing is, as far as, I'm not so sure what our responsibility is it's more his responsibility than our responsibility to be right about that. So,
Mike McCarthy, right?
yep,
He used to be the Urbach County Whirlwind, I think.
yeah,
I just know him. He's a very reputable guy. So.
yeah. You know, people think very highly of him.
Do you have something to say? I mean, he's the chair. He's chairing the committee. So.
No, go ahead.
I would concur that I had concerns about the same person doing both the accounting and the audit. And I certainly wouldn't, I'm not voting today anyhow, but when I do vote, I certainly don't have an issue with that. Furthermore, from what he's saying about he thinks it's okay, to me, I would disqualify him from the auditing role in either of these, because I don't believe that's a very good statement, and I would not disqualify him from doing the accounting portion.
Why would you disqualify him from doing the audit?
Because of this opinion that he gave you that he thought it was all right. I mean,
Why do you think he's wrong?
I
If he's already doing it for someone else.
First of all, he said that he would provide a written statement to that effect, which he has not done. And I find that to be
Well, it's very last minute though
questionable.
too, so he might not have.
And so we don't have that in front of us. And second of all, I think, I'm not an auditor either, but just as, it just seems wrong to me, like it seems wrong to other people, that you would have the auditor and the accountant being one and the same. I've looked at enough of these things to see the disclaimers that are all over the audits and the financial statements, particularly the financial statements. Financial statements, if you actually read those disclaimers, they mean nothing. The audits seem to mean something, but one of the things and one of the reasons why they mean something is there's some independence. So, the audit standpoint, I think it's an important piece, and I would not be taking his view on it. I would be taking our view on it, because when it really comes down to it, it's not his problem, it's our problem. I mean, we are the IDA. So.
Just a thought. I did spend some time in my career at KPMG as a big auditing firm, even though I was in the management consulting side. But one of the things I took away from that was a pretty strong adherence to ethics and the rules of the road, so to speak. And these guys never took any chances. And I'm thinking that there's certain regulations that would state that they could do both or not do both. In part, being somewhat part of that industry. But I'm thinking that there's got to be some kind of regulation, because they're under scrutiny by the SEC and other large organizations to make sure that they're doing the job correctly. And the guy's saying that he can do both. There must be some precedence there to allow that to happen. I agree with you about the independence. I'm not an auditor or an accountant. There
It
is
might
a
be the
certain
term,
risk.
the term we're using of accounting makes it sound like he's doing the journal entries and he's doing the accounting, and he's not. Can you talk about what Dennis did for you every year, just to give everybody an idea?
Basically, what Dennis would do is he would come in and make sure that my journal entries were correct, for, as an instance, petty cash. That all of the bank statements were accurate, which Joe checks every month anyways, and that everything was in order for the auditor to come in and get us ready for year end. He literally would spend an hour or two at the office and then take a thumb drive of our QuickBooks and go back to his office and review everything, make sure everything was accurate. And if there were things that needed to be corrected, he would contact me and I would correct them on my end. But that was it. He was getting it ready for the auditor to come in.
And who is Dennis?
Dennis was the accountant that we used from Snow
Stepco?
Iker. So up until now, they have been separate.
Good. There hasn't really been anybody that suggested otherwise. Didn't Dennis used to do the audit? Bob, do you remember?
I'm sorry.
Did Dennis used to do the audit and then...
I'm
Dennis
sorry.
used to do the audit? Did Dennis used to do the audit?
I think he did at one time.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And they got out of auditing, and so we put it up to somebody else.
But I don't think he wanted to do both.
Well, they stopped doing audits anyways.
I would think there would be an issue if he was actually doing the journal entries, but since he's on the outside, auditing what we're doing.
I've seen situations where you've gotten in trouble where you're actually doing the bookkeeping, where you're inputting the disbursements, you're deciding where it gets categorized, and you're making the monthly adjusting journal entries and preparing the financial statements. And so that's a definite no-no if you're also doing the audit. So I think he's right. I think maybe if we like his proposal, we should maybe pass it and then have him come and discuss that with us so we can get comfortable with it. And then if we're not comfortable with it, we don't hire a proposal. Or either, for that matter, if we don't want. I mean, the price obviously is significantly less, right, than...
It's about $4,000 or something
Yeah.
like that, might quick look.
So I think it's important that we, if that's the way we want to go, that maybe he comes and meets with the board or the executive committee or whatever's our next meeting, just to discuss that. We could also get input from Dennis to see how he feels on it. But from talking to him, I'm not so sure it's wrong, based on what they do. Because he's basically just reviewing what has already been done. He's not
Right.
making managerial decisions, he's not voting, he's not involved in the actual preparation of it.
Yeah, I think that's key, the decision-making. He's not part of any of the
Decision-making is the
decision-making.
proper word, probably.
Any direction whatsoever on any financial
Yeah.
transaction.
So he's not doing the presentation of the financials either, Joe?
No, because the financials really come out of
Okay.
QuickBooks, and then the auditor does what they do with it. And that's kind of the misnomer, because every audit that I do, the client, unless you're dealing with big, when you were at, was it,
KPMG.
you used to do what, Speed Work or something?
Yeah.
When you're dealing with those kind of clients, they prepare their own financial statements and then you audit them. Now, in the reality that I live in, I do a lot of nonprofit audits. Nobody has the accounting personnel at these places to do their own financial statements. You always have to do that. And that's just the way it is. You audit their trial balance and then you put together the financial statements. So, that's reality.
All right, I'll ask the question. So if he's not doing the preparation of the financial statements, what does the accounting piece of it actually represent? If it's split up?
When you say he's not doing the preparation of the financial statements, does Dennis prepare a financial statement for them to review, or no? He takes basically what comes out of QuickBooks, and then the auditors audit that,
Correct.
and they basically prepare the financial statements.
Right.
But you could say that we do it because we have the balance sheet and the profit loss from the QuickBooks, and then they put it into a format that's more presentable.
I mean, to me, so I understand, the accounting to me is preparing the financial statements, the statement of condition and
I've asked that myself. I didn't understand what the difference I personally felt that what was being done is that we were just tidying things up to hand to the auditor to have their time frame lessened. Now I've only gone through this one time since I've been since I was hired, so I'm not exactly sure. I can't give you any more information than what I have to it, but I do know that one of the things that Dennis did with me was journal entries, because I didn't know that I needed to do those with the petty cash. We don't have a big petty cash expenditure, so, and if I have an issue with, I put a check in and I assigned it to the wrong account, that then he picks that up and I correct that. But I'm the one that makes any additions, corrections, deletions.
So I'm curious, we have another audit going on, right? For the IDA?
Peer review.
ABO,
It's not at all.
right? But
It's a review.
I wonder what the ABO would say about this. Can we just get it quick? Maybe we get the answer resolved pretty quickly. The ABO says this is fine, or they don't like it. Just a thought. They're the ones we're most
He's the
worried about,
chairman.
right?
He's the
They're the
chairman.
ones we're most worried
He's the
about, right?
chairman.
I don't know what they, because they're also, they're used to dealing with bigger IDAs that probably have a treasurer that does all this stuff. So they probably most places probably only have an auditor. the bigger ideas, I would imagine, right?
Well, is that something we could ask?
Yeah, I'm sure it could.
I don't know, Travis, what do you think? Is it worth $4,000 or 30% more just to make sure we have the independence?
It's a big number, and I'm not terribly concerned that there's anything that, is going into these numbers that's going to be funny, or looking at, be more concerned about loans and things like that that are involved. I just don't like the idea, to say it again, I don't like the idea of the same person doing both pieces of this. And whether or not there's any, legal basis to that, I can't tell you. It would be nice if I had, if he had said, here's the thing that you had requested. Clearly says here, and we can do it. The fact that Lynn's Falls IDA is doing it, it's like, well, Jimmy did it, why can't I do it?
Well, no, that's why I was thinking about the ABO, because they might have an opinion on this.
I just sent the ABO an email, see if he responds to it.
I make a motion.
But he's not going to understand. I need to talk to him. He's not going to understand what that means. If you say accounting, it sounds like they're doing the accounting, and that would definitely be no.
So can we put off this? Is there urgency on this decision?
I don't
We need
think
to do
so.
it now?
No, I think we could put it off for a month and meet again next month and have more answers, and then if we decide you want me to bring him to the meeting,
If you just had something in writing, I'd feel comfortable about that.
Okay. Because, it's not like he's somebody who I don't take serious, so like when he says, I can do this, there's no reason not to, but I don't take that lightly. I mean, because he has a very good reputation, I don't think he'd do it. He's got a peer review every 3 years, and he's passed that, and they would look at stuff like that when they do a peer review. So, that's one of their big things.
I'm just looking at it from our standpoint, and if there was any question, we could say, well, look, we have this document, this is what it says. He lied to us, and that's the reason we did it.
Right.
Okay? At least it gets,
And the other thing to remember is that it's really it's more his responsibility, as far as us being the user, whether he's not, he kind of, if he screws up on the independence part, I don't think has a big effect on us at all.
No, it goes against him.
Yeah, it goes against him, not
I
us.
would think.
So it's not like we would get in trouble, he would get in trouble. But I don't think he would do that if he didn't feel comfortable.
But the question
So I think we need to get him here or get a letter.
Get a letter, and
Yeah.
if you could get that out before the meeting, that would be great.
Hmm?
Send him an email. He's going away, Mike, he's going away on vacation, so I wanted to get it
All right.
before he took off.
Yeah. Could have actually sent it, sometimes just don't get it too. So. But I think that's a good idea. I think we should wait a month, and we'll do some more research on this and get comfortable with it.
You want us to do anything on that?
What do you mean?
Do you want us to research that at all, or?
Is that something you feel comfortable doing?
I'm comfortable having Mike do it.
I'm trying to find, if it's a quick answer, I'm trying to find it right now. It's General Municipal Law, Section 859 is where the independent auditor language is found. So I shouldn't be too hard to find out what that means in application.
Let me get information first, and then I'll send it over to you.
Sure thing.
Okay? Yeah. Make sure you leave your card with me. Sure. Maybe we can get Dennis to give us what he actually does, too.
And I do know that when the proposals were sent out, the scope of work was taken from the letter that Dennis had provided last year, what his scope of work was.
Okay.
So that was part of that proposal.
Get me another copy of that, too. All right, so we're gonna put off 2 and 3. And Tammy, you want to go over the job count?
This data,
What's the process? Once a year, you ask them for job information?
year-end, we send out a detailed report request to all of the current projects that are receiving pilots, and we ask them to provide us with the detail of their sales tax and their job count. They provide their NS-45 to us at the end of the year. And the numbers that you see reported on this sheet here are what comes on the paperwork that I receive back. It is not always separated out by, they do the full-time, part-time, but they don't separate out if it's seasonal. So those papers are actually being revised to go out this year, but those are the numbers that were reported on last year's paperwork that we received.
Do you have an extra copy, or does everybody have this or not?
I don't believe I do.
It's not on
Yeah,
there.
it should be in your audit and finance packet, Mike.
Which one's-
You don't have it because
Oh.
I didn't prepare an extra copy of the audit and finance.
Here, I can share with you.
So,
Yeah.
what is it?
Well, it might be the one before it.
Just like this.
You only bring the Q4. Yeah, you didn't bring your audit and finance packet.
Uh-oh. It's probably in here, huh?
Oh, I can come out there and sit with that.
Afterwards, maybe I'll make a copy of it.
You can look at it. Share
Well,
with her.
I can share it here.
I can look at it.
That would be easier. Okay, so it's broken down all the way from year 2011 through 2017, and it shows one that will stand out to you, aviation hospitality. Their application said 27 jobs, and there were 0 reported. They were still under construction last year.
What was that again?
That was aviation hospitality, which is exit 19, Bavix project. There's no numbers reported yet for fire tech sprinkler systems. There is, as they're still under construction and actually have not closed. The same thing with Greenwich Preservation. They're under construction and have not closed as of yet. Mohawk Industrial Works closed in November, and they didn't have any employees on at that point in time. They had just closed.
What about, what's Hudson Falls Park Properties? Is that,
HF Park Properties, that's the 123, 24 Main, 134.
they want to put the bank?
Yes.
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 How's he coming up with that job number?
That is all of the tenants included.
there?
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause I know he has a big, healthcare thing up on the second floor. I see a lot of people go to that.
And then there was,
ICC4 West Bay.
yes, that,
We need another column that says exactly what it is instead of the Bay.
that's the Cambridge,
The
senior housing project, I believe, in Cambridge.
The Cambridge Hotel?
Yes.
Okay. So that's done really well too.
And these are all self-reported?
Yes, they are. They're all self-reported. They do provide their NYS 45, but again, in speaking with the ABO, that is for the quarter, those numbers, and we're really looking for number of employees you have as of December 31st. So
You
we're
don't see
tweaking,
that on there because you can see who has quarterly wages.
so we're tweaking
Yeah.
the form that we're asking.
45 could have 100 people on it, but you
Right.
might only have 60 people during that quarter getting money. So-
Right.
But we could see that. People probably don't want to spend the time.
Now, I struggle to get this data back in time to input it into Paris.
What do you need it by?
I send it out, last year it went out the middle of December, this year it's going out the end of November, and I will be following up. I have to have everything back to me by the end of February so I can start inputting in March.
They don't really have the NYS 45 till, late January.
Right.
What about Kenny Dietrich? That's like one of the ones that's a lot lower. Is there a reason?
That just closed,
That's Lake George?
yeah,
Hotel?
is that the Marriott?
Yeah.
But they have 2 years to be up to the number that they put on their application, if I'm not mistaken. Bob, is that correct? When they report a number?
I'm sorry?
When they report a number on their application that they're going to be providing 59 jobs, they have 2 years to be up to those numbers,
It
correct?
shows it on the application, what they expect to have 1 year, what they're gonna have in 2 years. I'm surprised where
So if we have full-time jobs for the application, and we have someone that goes down, like the Glen at
guys
Hines,
at their goal.
right, they went down. What's the story there, do we know?
They don't tell us that when they have a decline, but, I mean, the economy says a lot with that, I think. That's what has been the norm, that they've felt that was what decrease was.
So they're probably at the end of their pilot anyway, right? Because they're...
They're actually, they're actually a bond project, they're not a pilot.
The full-time job, is that like a full-time equivalent? Or is
Yeah.
that so basically if you have like 2 part-time employees, they'll add up to 1, you know what I mean, where it's 20 hours a week?
Right.
On the Patty Company, there's been several of these, and I think each one indicated that they had 10 or something like this. So, is that your...
The number 28 that they provided for year-end 2017, I had actually sent Mr. Schwartz an email for clarification on that, and that is the tenant at Patty Company. And forgive me, I'm not overly clear on this because it was originally Morris. They sold their interest to Patty Company, and Morris is the tenant of Patty, and that's the number of employees for Morris.
Same owner, right?
Yes.
You're saying it's been more than 1. So how many jobs will they promise each time, or we kind of...
That was not, we've never received an application for each one of those expansions. We did a resolution, but there was not a separate application and cost-benefit analysis done for each one of those expansions of Patty. Morris.
I mean, what I saw was reported in Paris, and I may have misinterpreted what was there, but it looked like on the latest expansion they were asking, they were saying there would be 10 more employees. But you're saying there's not a document like I've seen, it's not an application like I've
There's
seen?
not a separate application for each expansion request, no.
What should they give us?
It was all done by resolution, is my understanding. This project precedes me, so I've been working with the ABO to try to piece that together, and there's missing pieces in there.
So there are missing pieces, I mean, okay.
The best that I can come up with.
What is that one?
Morris Products?
Cary Road, they're a distributor of like electronic gadgets or, you know.
Okay.
Prospect Schools, it's more that they've restructured since then, right?
Yes.
Changed ownership, and I think are owned out of Albany.
Yes, they are.
What's our responsibility when something like that, you know, it's only a couple that are really low. Do we have a responsibility, Bob, to like do anything about that, or?
We have a recapture provision. You have to look at it, decide whether they're default enough. You can go after the tax benefits they've received. They haven't lived up to their expectations. You have quite a bit of flexibility in decision-making in that regard.
So if somebody's under a certain percentage, whether it's 20% or maybe that's something we should review. Not that we would go do that, but maybe we should at least review it and discuss it and get feedback from them as to what's going on. That's hard when it's, you know, 15 years ago.
Which one is 15?
Prospect Schools. I know though, it's all changed since then, as far as, I know a little bit about it, so I'm not sure.
Are they still receiving benefits?
Bonds, so bonds probably still.
The bond is still being paid on. The only,
No pilot though.
no, and they only get billed for special district taxes anyways. They don't, there's no billing to them for school or county,
Non-profit.
right?
Well, what kind of recourse would we have then?
And then, well, the recourse would be any benefits they did receive from us, whether it was, I don't know how you take back the bond savings, but if they had sales tax exemption at some point, or mortgage tax exemption, but
Audit, finance,
in that
talking
case, I'm
about
not so sure.
prospects.
You know, you also, I have to wonder out loud, right? that If we have, if we have a change in ownership, whether that new ownership really understands
You're being videoed.
what they bought, right?
Yeah.
And the obligations that they had as part of what they bought. Maybe it's just wise to say, come in and talk to us about it.
Yeah, I think if it's under, but I'm thinking 20% in my head, but if anybody that doesn't meet the 20% requirement, probably we should at least have some due diligence to follow through. I'm not so sure you can fault a company if, their whole structure's changed and there's more jobs down in Albany, or, because of economics, they had to do this and this. Then, because I think it'd have to be pretty extreme for us to take back benefits, but I think we should at least have some due diligence to do something, at least review it.
Would it be unreasonable to ask anybody that's down 10% or so to come in and give us a presentation in terms of what their plan is to get back on track?
10% is too harsh, or what do you think?
No, I don't see the numbers. Tim,
I
take
mean,
it away from me.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, because even like you look at Kenny Dietrich, where they said they're going to have 60, if they have 54, that's 10%. So that's, I think 10% is a little bit harsh. I think 20% would be more reasonable.
And when did you say these numbers were as of, Tammy? The number,
12/31/17, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's off the year end.
which that, from a seasonal standpoint, they could be low at
Well, we're supposed to be seeing how many employees.
just a thought. I mean, if it's in Lake George and they're giving you 12/31 employment.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's why we should look at it and talk to them, because they could be not calculating correctly, because really, technically, it's supposed to be what they have as of 12/31, but in a situation like that with a hotel, they really might have more, but it's a lot of part-time April through September, which would equate to full-time equivalents, that they should count for them. So that's why it's good that we look at it, so that we understand it, and
Well, I look at the Prospect schools, and they never met their number. Right. You look back through all the years, just to call out one, right? If I could see a progression moving forward, that they were, getting
Right.
closer to meeting their numbers, you give guys some breaks, but they've never made it.
But they only did bonding, I'm not so sure. But what recourse would we have if they only did bonds?
They had low interest, basically just low interest financing, right?
Yes. Tax exempt financing.
So there was some benefit there.
Oh, I know, but I mean,
Nothing that we could recapture.
Nothing. Okay.
doesn't mean we shouldn't look at it though and understand why. We probably should have looked at it 10 years ago.
I think that's, and then there's a couple that are current now that maybe we should be looking at.
Yeah.
For instance, the Kenny Dietrich one coming in.
Okay, Dietrich one, I think it might be a calculation issue.
Could be. And that's what they can tell.
You see any other ones that? The rest of them are all pretty close. I think that's the only one, really.
So again, these are just December 31st numbers? They aren't like the average over the year?
That's the theory of what it's supposed to be, but with Kenny Dietrich, that's not the right, I think it's not the right way to calculate it, because they probably have employees, part-time employees, for a lot for the summer, that would add up to full-time equivalents. That's just the nature of their business, so. Keep in mind, of course, the projected is what they're hoping to do too, so it's not always, perfect world.
I think it's pretty well defined. I looked at it the other day and they were saying if it's over 35 hours a week, it's full-time. And they said you can take your part-times and put them together to get 40 hours. Every time you get 40 hours, you have another
So
full-time.
maybe, Tammy, could you request from them for 2017, how many, each employee they had during the year and how many hours that employee worked? Because then we should be able to calculate the full-time equivalent of that. Add up all the hours, divide by 2,080, then give you a full-time equivalent.
That was on Kenny Dietrich.
Yeah, just see what, because I don't know if they're calculating it correctly.
Divide by 2,080, divide by 35 times, whatever it is, instead of 40 times. The full-time equivalency is 35 plus.
Oh, okay.
It needs to be a 35 factor versus a 40 factor.
35 times 52.
Got that calculated in your head yet?
No, I wasn't trying. Too late. In the morning I could do that, not in the afternoon.
20 years ago I could do it in my desk, but not today.
Okay, does anybody see anything else that they,
1820.
yes, what about SUNY Adirondack? I see that at the bottom.
Bonding.
Yeah. So we should probably just talk to them too. See, just ask them if they can explain why or how they're coming up with the 8 as opposed to, they had said 24.
And I would imagine that those 24 were a component of us offering the bond. Maybe we should start making sure that people understand that that's got to be a pretty, we need to be realistic with our number.
Yeah, 'cause
right?
we might have had a different opinion.
And I don't know if we can get some recourse to get it back in the future. Is there any way to structure an offering like that so that some of it is recapturable?
What would you recapture? Make them pay more interest?
Make them pay more. Yeah, make them pay more interest.
And that goes to who?
Yeah, but legally I don't know if we have a...
Can't come to us? Well, in the bond, right?
That doesn't come to us.
No, because we're not doing a bond. We just give them
The money doesn't come from us. The bank loans the money
Yeah.
at a low interest rate because it's tax exempt. So the bank is getting, less interest, but it's tax exempt.
Yeah, the game would be not in trying to recapture so much as showing the next guy that we are going to be
That we're looking at it.
Yeah.
It probably spend a little more time talking to each new applicant too about how they're coming up with their number, to make sure that it's realistic. And I'm sure that a lot of them are just putting numbers in, but
You're talking about SUNY Adirondack, though?
huh?
You're talking about SUNY Adirondack?
Yeah,
That was a whole dormitory thing.
right.
It's what the counties wanted. It
Well, I know that, but
wasn't
it-
about employment. It's about having dormitories on campus. It's a little different than a business coming in.
Right.
There was no promise of jobs in the bond for SUNY at all, was it?
Yeah, 24. And they're at 7 or 8 or 6 or whatever
So
it
we
is.
can certainly do due diligence by asking them the question. You had said you're going to have 24 jobs, why are you reporting 8? Explain what changed from the application.
I don't know how that helps us going forward, but
You never saw a cop on the Northway, you'd go any speed you wanted to go. That's what it is.
Count the cops.
yeah, but the cop isn't going to give me a ticket.
Well,
Doesn't matter if I see them.
Yeah.
no. At least the threat is that you might get a ticket. Every time I see a cop, I say,
I know. We just have.
Because you don't know if he's going to write the ticket.
It'd be nice to have a little teeth, right? So.
Is there a way?
Well, we
you
normally
build
work
in
for once in
recapture?
this bond.
Is there a way you build in the recapture if they don't meet their goals?
For tax exempt bonding?
But no, I'm talking
Not
about
really.
The other pilot projects and...
Yeah,
It's built in.
if there's
Still there.
the other things.
We already have
pilot,
it.
and there's especially if there's a pilot, then there definitely is recourse. Because saving on these taxes year after year after year, and misrepresented what they were going to do as far as that. And so we have more recourse there, and we probably have the authority to go back and get that money if we wanted to.
You can also terminate the lease and put them back in the tax rolls immediately,
Right.
then look at the recapture.
Yeah. Which we don't really want to do as extreme, but I think it's, like Travis said, I think it's important that you know, I always tell my
Agreed.
clients, it's like McDonald's counts cups and all that, and you always wonder, are they really tracking that, or they just pretend they are so that you don't give away free drinks because they think they're going to get caught. And so it's kind of the same theory.
So if you could just help me understand the bonding process, right? So this is a tax-exempt bond?
Yeah, they have a right to sell tax-exempt bonds at a lower rate than you would, obviously, that weren't tax-exempt. So we give them the right to do that, but we don't have anything to do with the bonding. They have a bank that's lined up to do that with them.
So who would normally get the tax on that? The counties?
There's no tax. It's
The
just
tax-exempt bonds.
They're saving interest, so they might get a 3.5% rate instead of a 5% rate. And that's where their savings is.
Or at the time, it might have been a 2 instead of a
Yeah.
3.
Then obviously whoever buys them saves on taxes too, but that's so there's no, you know, nobody's out money. This is the company.
Someone's got to be out money somewhere.
Yeah, you're out income tax, the guy that buys it.
State of New York.
State of New York.
State of New York is out. And the federal government.
Yeah.
So whatever it says bonding, don't worry about it. It doesn't impact the counties.
Well, there's no recourse.
Like Bob said, there's no way we can get that money back anyway.
We don't charge tax on the college either, right?
So they would be taxing.
They'd be tax exempt anyway, so you can't even, there's no recourse even on their pilot.
Oh, no.
There is a benefit to the counties by educating our kids.
Of course.
Oh, no, we're not.
I get that. It's not it. It's just
Right now,
process in general.
We're looking at the other side right now, we're looking at...
Well, because I think the problem with, a lot of it, I think it's just how they're calculating it, because I think at Atlantic Housing, they might be telling you how many employees are actually in the dorms. But when they did the proposal, there's other jobs that are associated with that as far as more security and other things, so the number 8 might be wrong on how they're looking at it compared to how they looked at it when they put the proposal together. Because I think having that many people on campus creates other jobs too. Whether it's, you know...
Even if it's a problem,
Yeah. But I mean, it's not just the people that are inside the building working, this is what I think the 8 is. So that's why you ask the question, so you get an answer, then we get better
College could be
information.
providing the services and...
Well, there's other jobs, I think, you know, other accessory type jobs that aren't people that are physically working in that building,
Right.
that are created because they have all these people on campus now.
Pretty much have
Whether
another
it's more
maintenance
food
worker
workers,
at the
it's more
college
security.
that's actually
Yeah.
there because you have another building to take care of.
You know, and the people understood that probably did the application, but now you've got probably a clerk that's giving her the numbers, and, you know, so that's why I think we ask the question, we'll get a better answer, and then we get better information next year.
But keeping your student population up, you're also helping keep more professors employed and
Yeah.
educational staff, so it's not just associated with those buildings.
And you get the kids out of their parents' house, which is the whole...
But I agree with all of this, but the idea is there is a discrepancy. We, as a board, ask for that, and we put it out, and the ABO will give that. And we did that. I'd be happy.
Okay, so I think we're gonna, so you're gonna just check with Adirondack Housing, and we're gonna ask for more specific information from Kenny Dietrich, which I think we need like all their employees for 2017, and we don't need like name, you know, they don't give us any personal information, but the hours each person worked, so that we can calculate full-time equivalents by 35 hours per week.
Almost it's already in there.
Anywhere.
If it's already in there, maybe the full...
Yeah, well, I'd be disappointed. that-
Yeah, it might be in there.
Can we just look at, 16 also, since they reported 16, just for curiosity's
Just
sake?
for comparison, it'd be nice. Yeah.
Can we do that also, Tammy? Thank you.
Yeah, 16 would be hard. No, let's not, because they didn't open until the middle of 16. It'll take a lot of summer. There's no, 16 is not really relevant because they weren't at full speed until halfway through the year. And I remember them talking, they couldn't even take like spring and some summer reservations early. So I think 16 really wouldn't be a good, have them put the time into it.
Okay.
Wouldn't be relevant. I think 17 is more relevant, and then obviously 18 will get it. I think,
This is the audit and finance meeting. It's going a little longer.
I'm
than
surprised, look at like Rand Entertainment, I think we have the exact opposite where, do they really have 47 full-time equivalents, or do they just have 47 employees? So, I guess we have to look at that harder.
It's good digging that one also.
No, because they're over, so I don't think we need to. All right, that's it. Anybody have anything else they want to add before we close the committee meeting? For a motion to adjourn? Second? All right, there we go.
Okay, we'll go into, we'll call the IDA to order. First thing will be roll call.
Got this one.
Dave O'Brien,
Here.
Joe LaFura,
Here.
Craig Leggett,
Here.
Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan,
Here.
Nick Caimano,
Here.
Mike Wild,
Here.
Matt Simpson.
Here. Okay, we've established a quorum.
Is this the regular meeting?
Yes.
Are we allowed to start early?
No, it started at 3:30.
Oh, that's right. Now it starts ahead of time. You're late.
Okay, we would call for a motion of the approval of the board minutes for the August 13th, 2018 meeting.
Second.
Okay, Joe? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the next thing we have our current accounts payable.
Take a motion to approve?
Second, do I have a question?
Sure.
You got spectrum 125 for 1 month, and then you've got October 277,
Yes,
that's due to the increased service?
it's due to the increased service and the service call that they had to come out to replace the equipment.
Does that have to do with the speed of the internet, or?
Yes,
What's our monthly bill gonna be after this?
I do believe it's going to be 167, 176, I don't have an exact.
Yeah, you had told us that.
And that includes the telephone service as well, in that total.
Any further questions? Before I call the question? Okay, roll call?
Dave O'Brien,
Yes.
Joe LaFura,
Yes?
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes.
What about our two members, new members?
I do not have paperwork from Washington County yet.
Yeah. Really.
Right, that was all.
No, that's just.
Okay, our pilots that have been received and made are, there's a list there. Also in your packets.
All of the pilots are current with the exception of one project, and that's Tribal. They were rebilled with their 1% late fee in October. And I've not heard anything back from them.
You heard from them at all, or?
Nothing.
That's something that you should call them? What do we normally do with that?
The normal process Debbie had done with it is she would send the one bill out, email them, and I'm getting no communication back from Mr. Allen at all.
So it's just the late fee, or?
It's the entire amount, the late fee, the entire tax amount.
When is that due?
It was due September 30th.
Originally?
Yeah.
With the late fee, what to do?
It would have to be paid by October 30th, otherwise it'll be another 1% late fee added on.
Again, not our problem, though, right? Like, it's just a matter, like, if it doesn't get paid, we're not responsible. They are.
For tax.
Yeah, for the
We would
tax.
have to go after them for it, but it is ultimately still through the IDA for the project.
Bob, how does that work?
Generally, we've already approved the taxing entities to go after them directly, and that's what usually happens.
So it wouldn't be our responsibility if they go past November 30th.
The taxing entities themselves go after them.
Should we make a phone call, or? It's up to you.
I can call them and find out.
Yeah, I would say maybe just before next month's executive meeting. Wait a few weeks, see if he comes in, wait till after October 31st, and then if you have to bill him again, at least put a couple calls in, see if you can get an answer.
And that bill certified as well.
Okay, we'll move into unfinished business. Greenwich Preservation Group.
The project is underway, and Kara tells me she's finalizing the closing documents, and they hope to close within the next few weeks.
So if it's already underway, then they're not saving on things until we close?
Yes, they are. They have an agent agreement, so they're getting the sales tax break now. And the same is true for fire tech sprinklers.
Yep.
Same situation, and they hope to close in December.
So what happens, what does an agent agreement mean, like something we...
They're our agent, so they can go out and buy materials for construction and not pay sales tax on it. It's one of the three benefits that they buy.
What happens if it doesn't close? I'm just talking like Greenwich, they've been so hard to...
Yeah, well, if it doesn't, then we'd tell the state, and the state would go after the sales tax that they didn't pay.
Okay. ABO operations review. They are done with our office visits, right? Complete
As of this week.
as of this week.
They may come back next week for a visit. I don't know for sure, but the hope is that they will be wrapping up and have a draft to us by mid-November. They do know when our meetings fall for November.
How frequently do they do these reviews? They've been doing this review for so long.
Well, we've never had one, I know.
I didn't know if they were on a, every 3-year schedule.
All indications from them, this is not very long, the amount of time that they've been there. It's not like they're there every single day. They may come for 2 or 3 days in a row, and then I may not see them for 2 weeks, or they might come once a week for 2 or 3 weeks. They've been doing quite an extensive review of our files.
When they first came, I asked them, you working on more than one audit, one review at a time? And they said no. So I don't know, did we meet with them in July or? June.
Was our first
So
meeting.
those 2 people have always been working on our review though. I don't know what's going on, but.
It's telling.
What were
There's
they?
a lot of stuff to look at.
Yeah.
When you're going back to 2015, there's a lot of documents there.
What will they be coming back next week for, do you think?
At this point, I don't know. I had a couple of questions that they were looking for, how the taxes were calculated on 5 or 6 different projects, how that tax rate was derived. So I scanned in the document that we received from the counties with the taxing rates on them. They wanted to know how we came up with the property assessment. So again, I scanned in the document where we go to the actual county website and pull off the assessment, and that's what we base it on.
When I first came in, you were discussing cases that hadn't lived up to what we were hoping for. Is that something they, why were we talking about that?
Those were job count numbers that we were reviewing as part of the audit finance.
Nothing to do with any of
No.
Are they contacting the client or our former?
The projects, I have no idea if they are or not.
Maybe that's what they...
I do know that they have pulled a lot of documents and copied and scanned and asked processes of how things are handled. When an application comes in, what is that process? How's the cost-benefit analysis calculated? How we calculate the numbers year-end. And in some of our conversations that we've had about the year-end job numbers, are actually tweaking those forms so we get better, more accurate data from the project, because they don't understand the paperwork that's sent to them. We barely understand what it is, and we need to be able to clarify to them what it is that we're looking for, so.
Yeah, and you're always worried, it's kind of like when you receive like a government census form that you have to fill out because you know they're going to bug you until you fill it out, but how much time and effort do you really spend filling it out? You just want to give them answers so they go away.
When they are finished, will they send us a report and then come in and discuss it with us?
My understanding is they will send a draft report to myself and to Matt. Their recommendation is that Matt then shares that with the executive committee initially, and then it would be the executive committee's decision to pull the board together. They did recommend that each and every executive committee member read the document separately before they convene together, and then the board would be provided with that copy as well, read it, convene, and then I do believe the process then is that council reviews it, and then everyone would meet with the ABO review team.
Like the end of the year?
You know, they had promised me that they would meet with us before that, and when they were done with their review.
Well, they have an exit, right?
They had told us that they would meet with us before they actually drafted the draft document, but I do not believe that that is the process that they're going to follow. From information that they've shared with Matt and myself, that they're going to prepare the draft for our review and comment, and then it will go back to them before it's finalized.
Bob, have you met with them?
Twice.
What kind of questions have they asked?
I asked them some questions that they didn't have the answers to. They wondered why he did Glens Falls labels, for instance, an installment sale. He sold that lot, so we got that file out and explained to him what the thinking was and why he did it that way. They had a question on Morris Products, getting approval for the extension of the additional sales tax break, and there were resolutions for that they hadn't seen. A lot of questions on filing with the tax department that Mike and Kara answered, you know, forms have to be filed. Definitely, just basically things that Tammy didn't have the answer to. And we seem to have the answer for them. Mike not live as well. We had 2 hours at one time, to get back for another hour a week later with some more questions.
We're just sweating down the hill of spotlight.
So, you know, we think we answered all the questions, but they're gonna point out a lot of things we aren't doing right, and tell us what we should be doing right. So.
Yeah, it sounds pretty standard. I mean, when we do the regular audits at the county, they come in, they pull everything apart, they go through and make sure what you do lines up with the policies you made and that you followed your own policy. And here, I assume it's the same type thing. Did everyone get treated the same under what your policies were? Did anybody get something different? And it sounds along those lines, just hearing what you guys are saying.
They didn't like the fact that the members did not get a copy of the applications. I don't think Debbie handed out the application to everybody. And there was a question whether everybody got the cost-benefit analysis before they voted. So the things like that, procedural things that...
So that's in our policy that everybody gets that, and that didn't happen?
I don't know.
It wasn't in our policy. We didn't have a policy on it. It just wasn't done. And they're saying we should do that.
There's somewhere there's a rule that you're supposed to do that.
Well, it's their recommendation. They're recommending, they have best policies. They have policies the way they feel agencies should, the best possible way they should function. And so they're going to see where we measured up and where we didn't.
I still think we should push for a meeting prior to the draft, or if they won't do that, when they bring the draft, they should meet us. And this is all a game. It's like how the IRS plays it, where, you know, they'll come out for 3 days and do their thing, and then they'll go back and they'll hit you with a penalty. I mean, it's different, but you never have a chance. So, you know, good luck arguing with them once they've already locked it in. You know, you don't really get any say. You know, I'd much prefer, like when they do a sales tax audit, they give a proposed finding, and then you're kind of allowed to fight it before that auditor actually hands it in. And so it's a much fairer process, and I just think that the process that they're trying to dictate us to do, which is they'll do their draft, we should all read it separately, not together, and the lawyer should look at it, and then we should send them back comments, and then they'll finalize it without them ever having to sit here and talk to us about it, I think is wrong. I mean, we're going to learn from it, but also we should be able to respond to it. And it's always better to do it prior to the draft being written, but I imagine, and they promised me at that meeting that they would. And so, I maybe, Matt, you can call them and talk to them, or see when they're willing to meet with us. I think after the fact is not a good way to do it.
I think he's right. I don't know, with county and with town audits, that's exactly what happens. Before they do their draft.
Usually you have a verbal.
Yeah, they have a verbal.
Well, a
where
verbal,
you-
but it's usually with the head person.
I mean, they may
And
say
if he wants
something.
us
which is-
included, he can ask for that. I'm not sure in this case if they would grant it, but,
Well,
yeah,
usually they say something that's completely wrong.
That's what I mean.
On its face, and that should be known before they write their draft.
And I think, and I may be wrong in this, but they may consider that they've had their verbal, because they did meet with the executive committee.
But they didn't meet with everybody.
And they met with
Yeah, but they
council.
never discussed anything they found.
right,
You know,
well, the verbal should come at the end. It should come
Yeah.
at the end. They should meet with Matt.
And the problem with the draft is they call it a draft, but if it's a draft, it's already gone to their boss.
It's done.
If it's going to their boss, it's like pulling teeth to get them to change it. That's why I prefer the sales tax audit, because it's only the auditor that's kind of come up with what his findings are, and so you have a chance to at least discuss it with them to get them to change things, as opposed to like with an IRS audit where they've already locked in the dollar amount that you owe, and good luck getting them to go back on that.
Well, let's do this then. I'll just say it for, the board can do whatever they want. Let's say that the board has requested this, that before you come out with your draft, we would like to sit down and at least answer some of the questions that may not even be questions, but they don't know that.
We can do that. We'll reach out to them.
That'd be great.
It should be better if it's you than Tim.
Normally, the state auditors will make sure they meet with a group of people that does not constitute a quorum.
That's right.
Because if there's a quorum of executive board, or there's a quorum of the board of directors, then that's public information.
That's right.
They have to release the information, so we don't know how they're going to do it, but Matt's going to, Matt will contact them, find out what their plans are and why they're the plans, and go from there. So if we do have a meeting with them that's not public, you can find that information and prepare it from that point on.
I can remember when there was one of the people in the Glens Falls office and said that they were exempt from that, from the preparation.
They're exempt, we're not. If you give me information as part of a board, and we have a quorum of that board, then that's public information automatically.
They were saying that they were exempt.
They're exempt, we're not.
They were allowing the meeting to take place, but it's probably something to straighten them out. Trouble moving around.
Well, pass on.
I'll reach out to
request.
them.
Thank
I'll
you.
talk to them.
Thank you.
Okay, the CEO, CFO position. Mr. Griffith has pulled his name from being considered for this position due to his job and other ventures in his career. So with us today, we do have Mr. Michael Biddle, and he was our other candidate who our executive board had met with him, and we were directed to have both candidates here, and tonight we have Mr. Biddle. Welcome. And I don't know if the board would like to, how we want to do this.
Questions?
Maybe Mike can introduce himself and
Yeah.
give his background and why he wants to do this, and,
Does anyone not know Mike?
5 minutes.
What's that, Dave?
Does anyone not know Mike?
I see your picture in the paper just about every other day.
It's always in front of a
I
ribbon.
don't know if we like it to be having him forced on us. That's what I don't.
Well, I am going to put a time limit on no, I'm like,
So welcome.
Yeah, we don't want to lose a second candidate after we already lost the first.
Thank you, Travis, for supporting me.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Michael Biddle. I'm the current CEO and president of the Adirondack Regional Chambers of Commerce. I'm a resident of Greenwich, New York.
In Washington County, right?
Washington County, you bet, the best county on the planet. Been there since 2002, and married a dairy girl there, and I'm a dairy boy from Wisconsin. Was employed at Quad Graphics for 15 years, the King Arthur Flour Company as co-CEO for 15 years, and then retired. Had been a member of this esteemed board from 2005 to 2009, chairman of the board from 7, 8, and 9. I can't count either. And involved in several other community endeavors throughout my time here. I love Warren and Washington County tremendously, and always been concerned about the community and the job growth, retention, and this beautiful area, keeping it beautiful. So I really see the IDA as a wonderful opportunity in the most difficult state in the country to do business in, to actually offer something to current businesses to expand, hopefully, and new businesses to come into our two counties. And that's where I'm at. I currently am on the New York Farm Bureau Board for Washington County and the March of Dimes Board for the Albany, all the way up through Canada area. That's about it. I'm bored. That's why I'm here.
Kind of disqualifies him, doesn't it?
Yes.
His wife wants him out of the house more.
So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Biddle?
The only question I have, just to clear the air, is there anything that you have that you're doing? Because you do a lot of things. Would there be anything that would be in conflict of interest with what we do here, or would it be together with what we do here?
If there were anything with a member business, I would definitely make that known. You know, if there was something going on. From what I understand, the CEO does not have a vote on the board, correct?
Right.
But can actively participate in the meetings from questions and so on?
Yes.
Okay, so that helps. That was important. And then secondly, I was a little bit involved in New York State Republican politics and have resigned from all those positions upon taking the job as the president and CEO of the ARCC. So I am nonpartisan as of April 30th, 2018. I can't speak for Mrs. Biddle, but I am.
So now you're just as likely to vote Democrat as you are Republican?
Oh.
No comment.
No comment.
I would make a motion that we accept the Mr. Biddle.
Second?
Okay, I just have one question.
Please.
Just for clarity, we had talked in executive, our executive board meeting about the Paris and signing off, I know you and I have had some discussions, and I don't think we are you okay with that? Part of the detail?
It's the certification that numbers are true and
right,
and so on that Ms. Tammy works with the state on, and that the CEO and CFO, one of their responsibilities is reassuring and certifying those numbers. So yes, absolutely. I can, with my shoes off, I can come to 21.
No comment.
I was born in Mississippi.
No comment.
Oh, no comment. Brian?
Even though you're not a voting member, I would have to assume that there's a conflict. You would also not participate in the discussion, because that's really what an extension is. You're not even allowed to participate in the discussion.
Right.
So I just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But I think if they're a member of the chamber, that doesn't mean it's a conflict.
Right. And having chaired this esteemed body at one time, I think Mr. Morris can attest to the fact that I always erred on the side of perception further than reality in any conflicts for myself or any member of the board at the time, and that's certainly considered
and continued on the Glens Falls Hospital Board and so on, which, yes. And always open to discussion if somebody else feels there's a conflict. Always wide open to that.
Mr. Chairman, thanks. Mike, you're experienced with this operation. What about your first 100-day plan? What are you going to do for us in the first 100 days?
Well, I'm going to
We don't have time.
I'm going to stay off of Twitter, number one.
He's going to distance himself until that audit is in.
I think he's already safe with that. I think I am too, right? Considering it's my first official meeting.
That's right.
No, seriously, Mike, what do you think you can? What are you going to do for us? I'm new to this, so I don't know. So what's the position going to do? What are you going to help us with? What are you going to solve for us?
Well, essentially, it's all the same things that you're here for, except I can't vote, is essentially what it is. The CEO, CFO position, it was mainly put forth by the legislature in New York State and the governor because a few of the IDAs, unfortunately, got a little squirrely. And especially when I was chair of the IDA here, two esteemed counties, one way to the west of us and one to the southeast. Unfortunately, abuse of privileges that were put forth as a state authority. So the CEO, CFO position came out of that. And it really is, the main duties is clarification and certification of pairs. It's to also hopefully have, like you want to do good things and have some input into the community. So I need to get up to speed on some things, and I would suggest that to anybody that's new to this board, with Miss Tammy, with Mr. Simpson, and especially this cat right over here, who has the longest institutional knowledge with Mr. Morris and his team. I know Kara came on board in 08 or 09, because she came on board when I was going off. So it's really a dual catching up. Where are we at? I'm sure that some statutes have changed. One of the things that I'm interested in working with the board on is how do we bring the IDA into the 21st century? Because several of the statutes were formed in the 60s and 70s. Are they still applicable to today? Now, that doesn't mean that we can change those, but we might have some ideas for the legislature that could help our area. The world is a vastly different working place than it was in the 1960s on a lot of fronts. So, do we want to be reactive or do we want to be proactive as a board? That's one of my biggest questions.
I think your question is an excellent one, actually, because I feel strongly that maybe with you and Chairman Simpson, one of the things that needs to happen is that the public needs to understand that we don't sit here with a wallet full of money and give it. We don't do that. And it seems to. I talked to a man yesterday, as a matter of fact, who is a large business owner in his town, and he had no idea that we are not like as the EDC is or the LDC. We do not give out money. He thought that we did. And this man runs and has for 45 years, runs a multi-store, multi-million-dollar business. Has no idea what the IDA is. And I think education of the public would be something that Chairman Simpson and you might take on.
And we're not funded. We're not funded by the county or our own.
No. There's a lot of misinformation that needs to be taken care of.
I think that there's a tremendous misunderstanding with many of your colleagues, both Warren and Washington County, as to the role of the IDA. And so I definitely agree with Mr. Caimano that there's a lot of opportunity because we may be missing the ball with some great input from some other supervisors. And quite frankly, there may be a few that, and that's just life, there may be a few that maybe will never get it. You know what I mean? To the extent that you wanted to. But I think giving it a wonderful try at educating would be great.
Okay. Any other discussion before we call the question?
Is there a length of term on this?
You asked him when to get rid of
Filled
them?
out.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
No, until we decide.
No, you're right.
Give that.
From my short experience on being a supervisor and
Yeah.
coming up with appointments,
Year to year.
there's the...
Year to year organizational meeting.
Okay.
Every February, we would, does that include this February?
Yes.
3 months. 3 months.
Make it, that's 100 days, make it happen.
Yeah, here we go. Starter watches.
The chain I will have for you is right out the door to
Fantastic.
chain you in.
Thank you so much.
We throw away keys around here. Okay, I'll call the question. Roll call.
Do we want Mike to stay in the room, or?
Yeah, I can leave.
Sure.
Ms. May vote no. See ya.
Just want to say, before you leave, we'll catch up. Entirely different matter.
Okay, he's coming back. I'm sure he wants
Or
to.
he'll stay or may not stay if he gets voted out.
Dave O'Brien,
Yes.
Joe LaFura,
Yes.
Craig Leggett, Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Nick Caimano.
Yes.
Mike Wild.
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes. Okay.
Give him the bad news.
Yeah.
You should have said, let's take a walk down the hallway.
Give him the bad news now.
We should have ran fast. I have to say, that's,
Fine, I was almost there.
Before you give me the answer, I got to disclose something. I'm one of his 3,488 twin brothers.
Yes, you are.
Twitter follow.
It was very tough. We finally got, after a couple of votes, but it was unanimous. So,
Little arm twisting.
Little arm twisting.
It was that lifetime membership that brought it over the edge.
Supervisor Leggett, I appreciate you much. I'm sure that Supervisor O'Brien had plenty of negative things to say, but there was not enough time to go in depth, so that was good. Do both counties have to approve the appointment?
No, just here, no, this is our appointment. Just this agency.
Okay. So is it okay if I come with the big kids and?
So I want to thank you for
Oh,
stepping up and...
Are you leaving now? Because I want to speak to you before you leave.
oh no, I'm gonna join the rest of the
Oh, you're going
meeting.
to come to our meeting?
Yeah,
I thought he was going to get big kids or
Wait,
something.
that's
I
it?
thought you were...
Wow.
You should join the big kids. I thought he was bringing big kids. I didn't...
The other thing is you don't need to wear that fancy suit every time you come either.
Well,
You know, there's no
Hey, for the other job, he kind of had...
You know, there's no
Mike
pay
gets
for
paid to
this.
dress like that, you don't get paid to dress like
We're
that.
going to Washington County. I have a question for everybody, and I didn't have a chance. Does everybody qualify to milk a cow? Because when we go to Washington County...
I am.
They have machines for that, don't they?
They have robots
Yeah, right
now.
here.
They have
Yeah.
robots now. You don't need, you can just punch it in the computer and it happens.
Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. And while most of you know I don't take myself seriously, Ms. Sullivan knows this, I certainly do take any endeavor that I take very seriously. So thank you very much for your confidence.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, thanks for...
By the way, were you there that day at Washington County when I milked the cow when I was running against Sweeney?
That would be...
I didn't do it, it didn't work.
Okay, we'll move into our park business. General update. Mr. O'Brien.
I was hoping I would hear from Jack today, but I didn't. About 2 weeks ago, we approached Don Student at Equistock to discuss the property. Don was out for a couple of weeks with some medical issues, so we finally caught up with them. They discussed the ability for them to look at the wetland areas, which sort of, the wetland areas was looked at, it sort of complicated some of what they wanted to do. But then Jack discussed with them the ability to buy everything that's left there, that's 16, I think it's like 25 to 30 acres altogether. If they would be interested in purchasing the rest of that property. Mr. Student actually said that based on some calculations and how the calculations were done by DEC on emissions, that they would be pretty interested in buying the whole block. So they can either use that for their needs or to subdivide some of it off themselves. Jack was going to go back and talk to them on the 29th. I understand the owners will be in town sometime within the next couple of weeks. And the expectation is that at least I and Jack and our economic development person in Washington County will be invited up to meet them and discuss this with them. So we'll have more information. Since that time, I've also had information. There's a competitive company, but someone who does similar things to them, but doesn't compete with them, is also interested in being up with them. So that is another area of investigation to look at. I think it's something seriously we've got to take a look at, whether we want to sell that piece of property off, that complete piece of property off, versus invest in putting infrastructure in there. If you can sell it off, we won't have the need to build out infrastructure for them. They'll be responsible for all that. So it'll get us off the hook, quite frankly. And looking at that property up there, I would seriously analyze where we want to spend a lot of money to build out infrastructure out there. It really is farther out. And if you have Equistock, who has probably 8 or 10 properties, more than that, 10 to 12 properties here, that would line that whole place where they got logs and going back and forth and all the other transportation going back. So it looks halfway decent. We'll get an analysis done once we get the numbers.
Yeah, I was kind of intrigued by what he said as far as, why spend all that money trying to market these lots that are imperfect when if we can get Equistock to buy most of it and then go find property that is shovel-ready, that's much more marketable somewhere, that might make better use of our money. I think it's a good idea.
And right now, we pay a usage tax to down to Kingsbury, and each one of those lots is created. We do away with that.
Yeah, we pay $50 a lot. Administrator for the sewer district. And one of the problems that would happen was because when they set up that Warren County, the Washington County Sewer District number 1, which is the old phase 1. Then we have the Kingsbury Sewer District number 1. They never put a benefit tax on it, so there's no money left. Never any money built up. It was best back in maintenance and build out sewer issues. And this might help us in finding a way to get money, because Equistock is classified as an agricultural business. And as an agricultural business, the number of jobs they have to create when they expand to get funding to help the infrastructure is a lot less than if it's a regular business, plus there's a higher percentage that they can get in a grant. So that might back into solving some of the issues that Washington County Sewer District number 1 and Kingsbury Sewer District number 1 have, because there's a lot of slip lining has to be done. I think if we really looked at it, there's a lot of slip lining that should be done on the other side of the by the airport. They have the same problem. They use the old clay pipes, and they must be having a lot of infiltration into the pipes also, which is causing the people who own property to pay an extremely high fee because of the infiltration. So if you were borrowing money for the $1 million that's needed to invest to fix that, it might save the money but not have to pay the infiltration fee. So anyhow. So more to come. He said the 29th. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Now, you were saying they might buy the whole block, use some of it, and sell that off. Does that fall under the speculation part of the park, where an owner?
Well, if they buy it, they're buying it to use it.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. It depends on their plan.
And the lack of quality of those lots might also, might also. It's not like we're letting them buy 7 prime lots that we could sell to somebody else. In this case, there's lots that would be very difficult to develop.
So the price it would be priced accordingly?
By usable acre, probably, right?
What Jack was saying, this is just a throw out when he talked about it, is I think we charge $25,000 a buildable acre. I don't remember the numbers, but probably about a third of that is not usable because of the wetlands. Especially that big 16-acre plot is about half wetlands. So people have problems building on that. Plus, we need the right of way if we sold that, sold the lots on the other side. So what Jack was proposing is to sell what they need, 8 to 10 lots, at the $25,000 per buildable acre, and considering disposing of the rest of the property at a per acreage fee of maybe what it would be for agriculture or woodlands or whatever, mostly woodlands. So that's what he's proposing. I don't know how legal it is, but we have to look at that. I think this might be a special circumstance that we would have to evaluate, because there has been some consideration if that Equistock was there, is would anyone want to build out past that? Because we established the use for that part of the park as being sort of a logging wood pulpy area, and would other companies who may be or clean rooms or any other type of office space, would they go back there? I don't know if that's a question there. But then we'd also be limited based on what our investment is into the infrastructure. And if we talk about, I can't remember what we said, someone was talking about $500 a foot.
Yeah, they weren't really
But that was
confident
just to,
accuracy.
maybe, but to build out maybe half a mile of road, that's going to be pretty damn expensive. You're talking $100,000 to recoup maybe, there's 15 acres out there to recoup, so that just doesn't work out for us to invest in something we may want to do. And if we build infrastructure, we probably would pretty have to look at building out the entire infrastructure on, and maybe we're going to sell that. So I'm just saying that we really have to do a numerical analysis on it to make sure it's worthwhile. I'd hate to go bottoms up or upside down on building out infrastructure to pay for lots that aren't really worth it, or we may never sell, and may sell in the next 30 years. So a lot of speculation there on our part too. So
Yeah, I think Jack's opinion was to take our money and go somewhere that's going to be more marketable, more better for the town, for the right jobs, instead of investing in that.
I have a question on how did we acquire that one?
Bought it from the county.
tax sale, wasn't it?
Washington County acquired it by taxes, and the agency bought it from Washington County.
It was
Craig?
not part of the original,
What's that?
it was not part of the original part or area.
No,
I think Bob Morgan owned it at one time, whatever company he was with.
the portion closest to County Line Road was already included. But then the bigger chunk we got from Washington County around 2000.
They took it for taxes.
Good.
Our carrying costs on that, if I was reading the financials, are about $14,000 a year. I don't know. So you think about, I don't know, and I might not have read it correctly, but last night when I was looking through there, there's,
I know there's a set amount we have to pay no matter what, right?
yeah. But there's definitely carrying costs to it, so.
Yeah, if you look at the budget, this year it's $14,276.
Yeah.
It's real property, sewer, water taxes on just the lots. So there's an annual savings there too.
So I'm wondering, to minimize the impact of speculation on their part, we could probably put something in a deed restrictions that says that we want it to be only for this type of business.
I guess I'd like to hear their plans first. I mean, I hate to say it, we only need to use half of it, restricting them from doing what they want with the other half. I don't know, I'd just rather see what their plans are, what they want, what their future plans are. Maybe their plans are going to change based on what they have previously talked about with us, and I just like to play it by ear until we find out what their concrete thing is.
It's part of the park, so there are covenants of what they have to meet, right? That limits what they can do.
Covenants and restrictions, yes.
Concern what I'd have with that would be if that business comes to an end and you want a new business and you have all these things on it, then you even strap somebody from buying it, and then the whole thing's dormant. I guess that'd be my concern on that. kind of the unintended consequences. It wasn't what we meant to do, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't look at it.
How soon, Dave, do you think before we see something from them?
That's a great
You got any
question.
information on that?
That's a great question. I know their original timetable. There are reasons that the original timetable may switch. Part of that is some potential grant opportunities to help us and them. Well, I shouldn't say us, it would help the sewer district fund some of the things. So I don't know. I know the original timetables will be up and running by the middle of next year. Part of the other original timetable was to put a storage facility in there so they could put their goods in there so it doesn't mold up. The problem they have with wood chips now, with wood shavings now, is when they put it in the tractor trailers and store it, it will mold up within 2 or 3 weeks of being in there. So they want a place where they can put it. They'd probably like to store ahead. As we said before, they have sold out all their product for the next 4 years.
They also want to do a different type of product, right? Is that the second thing they're talking
They are
about?
talking about potentially, because some of the after
Byproducts?
byproducts of the sawdust, they're talking about putting a pellet plant in there too, but I haven't heard any firm plans of that. Just speculation that came up when we first talked to them in June. They haven't heard anything since then. They're going out to do their prototype on the land what they're doing, but we haven't seen it done. And I think the big drop was this guy, the manager over there, was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. So we don't know. We just don't know what the timing is now. Don't know if they have their proof of concepts made up yet or not, so we just don't know yet. I think more to be heard. I think it's encouraging that the owners of the company are coming out to talk about this, and they want us to see if they can set up meetings with us and with the economic development person, so there's potential there.
We can put their business into perspective. As I was at a Adirondack Forestry Roundtable last week at SUNY Adirondack, and secondary markets are a big player on the health of our forest economy. And we have Finch, we have IP, and they take a lot of the low-grade wood. And Equistock is one of the few other alternatives for taking pulpwood, basically, turning it into a product. And if anything were to happen to the two large paper companies and what they can absorb and what they can buy from the loggers, it would adversely affect the whole region around here. So if they can expand and take on more of the raw material, it would have a beneficial effect throughout the region.
One of the benefits of taking the entire park is that their output was capped by expanding based on the acreage they had. And I'm not even sure the calculation has to do with DC's calculation, it's emissions at the property line. So they would have been capped at 65% potential reduction. By expanding, it allows them to go farther. I don't know how much further. I think it probably allows them to max out at 100% reduction if they need to. But that's part of the calculations they're looking at.
You know, as they expand, it's not just more of their jobs, it's more logging jobs there too. Very cool.
Are they limited by Forever Wild?
Well, there's still a lot of private land ownership within the Adirondacks, and on most of those wood lots, about 1/3 of it's going to be low-grade wood coming off of it. So, and there's more supply than there is
Demand at this point?
pardon me?
There's more supply than there is demand at this point, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. More is grown than is being cut on an annual basis. Just on private woodlands and conservation easement lands.
Okay. Move on to the logging contract renewal. We have a, I don't know if anybody else has seen this, just right? Okay. from discussions in our executive board meeting, we had talked about either a bond, performance bond with our client. And I got an email from Tom Jarrett. Should take up to 4 days with a large bulldozer, which could equate up to $8,000 to $10,000. This includes time to clean up the logging site, including knocking down the slash near the entrance to make the site more presentable in a short term, removing major ruts, clearing the center line to allow access to the property. The IDA could request, say, $7,500 in cash or $10,000 in bond, as part of this, if we desire. I think you had brought up that.
Yeah, it wasn't left right, so, how do we guarantee that it gets cleaned up?
Right.
We're trying to sell this land, and there's a lot of debris left around the header, and the land's pretty well rutted up and hard to access if you want to be built in. It's typical to leave a logging site in good shape for the landowners.
So what's the desire of the board?
Was there any timeline put on when they were coming back?
They've been wanting to get in since August to get this cleaned up. They're trying to access the other properties, the adjoining properties, to finish up their logging. They had stopped because of the weather conditions and also equipment problems in the spring. Trying to get back in there to get it straightened out, logging off the other adjoining properties, and then clear up.
The logging is not finished?
Our logging is on the adjoining property,
That's
the
right,
other
they were
property
going, I
owners.
didn't know.
But we want our property cleaned up
Yeah.
and returned back to...
Last time I was up there, it was in this.
I guess they all do the same thing then. They're all the same. I mean, it's tough to get them to do it. Is $7,500 enough to clean it up if they leave it a mess? That would be the other question.
That's in Tom Jarrett's estimation. Is that Bruce?
I said I'm still confused. Now, Bob, didn't the original contract with us specify that they were supposed to have it cleaned up at their expense?
Yeah, but they haven't done that. And they want something else from us now? They want
They want to
access?
go access, yeah.
So this is to tying in. They want access across our property, and they're saying they'll now go clean it
The other
up.
land.
So we want them to give us $7,500 until they do what they're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Or a $10,000 bond.
That's giving them access through our
Through our
property
property.
to someone else's property.
So they can log.
It just prolongs them keeping it, cleaning it, or fixing it the way it is, because they're going to keep using it.
Right.
I mean, that's all we have to understand, but it's just a then it's just a timing thing.
What is the timeline on it then, for us to close the door on that? For the access to the other?
Did he say in any...
I would say triple it. That way he has a bit of an incentive to make sure it gets cleaned up when it's done.
Right.
He didn't do it the first time.
Well, I guess we'd have to have it in terms of our contract. If this is, we have a contract.
Something new though.
Yeah, he wants an extension, an extension under the old contract, right?
Yeah.
So we could do...
We can do whatever we want at this point to agree to the new extension.
Right.
So
So we could do 30 days or 2 weeks or whatever we want to do.
I meant triple the bond.
That's what he meant, was triple the bond.
More incentive to get it done.
What does the $10,000 bond cost?
Is it 10%? Last time I was in jail, let's see.
That was yesterday?
You haven't met Rob Wynn.
Yeah, you don't want to make it ridiculous for me.
So
It's not gonna get cleaned up till next spring. If they want access to go log, we're already in end of October, so we're looking into November. Weather's gonna get nasty here and wet and ruddy, and so they're gonna wait until it freezes up. So then we're looking at December for them to get in there and then do it January, February, March, and oh by golly, if it isn't wet again. And
So we might not own the land, but...
Global warming,
So what's the best option?
you know, I
I think the bond is
think
fine.
about,
Yeah.
yeah.
How large is the bond gonna be, 30,000
10,000.
or 10,000?
What do you recommend it?
Who recommended that? The guy who wants to...
No, our engineer.
Our guy did?
Tom-
All right, sorry.
It's about about $8,000 to $10,000 worth of work.
So then double it. Get an incentive.
Make it 15 or something.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
There's more incentive than there's more at risk.
And the term, like the
15,000 bond, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or how much cash? 10?
We're looking at June 30, though.
The problem is,
Challenge.
yeah, the other problem is if you get the $10,000 in cash and you get to keep it, can you hire somebody for $10,000 to make that look the way you want it to look when you're done?
Well, that's our best estimation from our engineer, Tom
Yeah, but they
Jarrett.
haven't wrecked it yet the second time.
Oh, yeah.
There's still a lot of wood to move. It's going to get worse, not better.
That's a good point.
What's Jarrett's recommendation in cash? What's Jarrett's recommendation in cash?
It's either, in cash, he had said,
$7,500.
could say $7,500 in cash,
Well,
or,
the 15,000 for the cash. That way we'll have enough money to do it if he does double the damage.
June 30th
Oh,
next
yeah.
year.
That means we can't sell property until after June 30th.
We can sell it subject to this. The buyer would have to
Subject to
understand
this
the contract would be
shape,
binding.
yeah.
Okay.
Or you set a date and you put an agreeable extension at the end of that date. You know, you make it March 30 and then...
Yeah, March 30.
And then do an agreeable, both parties need to agree. I don't know.
Yeah. give them
You know what I
That's
mean?
good, yeah.
Try March 1.
Well, form it in a motion.
Oh, yeah.
What we're proposing is,
So
if we make this too hard,
It's
what if
just-
they just say we're not doing anything? Then we have to like...
I think they're still,
Yeah,
Contract
I don't want to
has
make it
its own-
unreasonable for them either, because...
So we'll go to April 1st?
yes, yeah, April 1st, $15,000 bond.
Bond?
Yes.
Okay.
Or 10,000 cash.
Motion for that?
Nothing on cash, you're not mentioning cash.
I'll mention 10. 10 cash, 15,000 bond, April 1.
I'm worried about Mr. Campbell's concerns, that if he messes up more, it's going to cost more for Mr. Jarrett.
It's only going to get worse.
He's going over our
They're
property.
just driving through our property.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is
that's
already a mess. He's not doing any more logging on our...
But he's gonna be dragging all the logs across to the head we have on our property, right? So
They make
they'll-
it better, right?
The more they do, the worse it gets.
it's gonna get worse. He's gonna have all sorts of junk laying there.
They still got 15,000 that he's going to lose.
I don't know if you want to do an extension.
You can't afford it?
It'll
I'm
cost-
sure if we even added
That's
it first.
true.
Yeah, it might be worth less to leave it than it is to clean it up. That's what I'm afraid of.
Exactly. That's why I was, you know, he's obviously gonna get some money out of logging the other piece, right? There's an incentive there for him to do this, right? We just need to make sure that there's good enough incentive for him to clean up once he's done.
Well, he's a reputable logger and was under contract for him to clean the place up. So they've just been holding off on doing it until they get back
To get done.
in that area.
So if he doesn't do it,
He probably doesn't want
we get the $15,000 bond, but we can still sue him for the rest of the cost. We had
Pick a number. Do it.
15 and 10.
Okay. So we need a motion to extend the agreement to April 1st.
Right.
$10,000 cash, $15,000 bond.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any other details?
Everything else is there, so.
Okay.
We have bonds, liability
Cash,
insurance, all
yeah.
that will be in there.
And allowing access onto,
The neighbors. Okay. Roll call.
Dave O'Brien,
Yes.
Joe LaFira,
Yes.
Craig Leggett,
yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Nick Simano,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes. D&G Recycling. I haven't heard anything from D&G, and I don't think Jack has. Do you have anything to report on that?
But no, I have nothing. I prefer to
Okay.
not say much right now.
They were looking to do what?
They were looking at, they needed 3 acres or 3 lots? 3 lots, and considering what it would cost having that. Maybe, you know who D&G Recycling is?
Over by the,
Steve Agagi, yeah.
Yeah, full disclosure, he's leasing our property, Warren County property, right now. So we're in negotiations to update that lease.
Month to month.
That's probably
So
why
we're
we're
the other
looking to
option.
see what his options are.
Recycling business, push them up.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know why.
Well, those are the only lots we have left. That's the only place we have 3 lots left, is up by then. You probably want them together.
I know.
One here, one there.
Right, it's not true, that it doesn't leave us without saleable lots. Not 3 together.
There are 3 just before it goes back together.
we're not in a rush until we figure out what Equistock was.
Just push Equistock.
That's your job.
Well, it's Jack's job.
Okay.
He's paid for it, not me.
Your job to push
We don't have it in proposal anyway.
All right.
All right.
Anything else under park business? You'll move into new business. Pilot billing update. We already did. Preliminary budget, 2019.
All right, so if everybody can turn to the budget, about halfway back in your pack. Pretty much kept everything kind of the same as last year. Sale of land, we're doing 50,000, which has generally been 2 lots. Obviously, if the Equifax stuff goes, then that'll look great. If it doesn't, it won't. Same thing with project fees new. On that same page, about 2/3 down is 50,000. And again, it's all just a guess because you don't know what's going to come up. And to be honest with you, if one of those 2 projects are going to close, could flip into the next year, and that would be fine. But never mind anything new during that year. The only other thing I wanted to point out was, Tammy, you have commissions on lot sales, which is Jack's commission.
Yeah.
What's his percentage rate?
6%.
So 50,000, wouldn't it be 50,000 times 6%? Am I thinking?
No, because if you did those lots, I think if I did it correctly, it would be 8 lots.
8 lots.
Oh, yeah, but we
25
want the budget to match. We're basically budgeting for a sale of land of 50,000, so we want the commission to match that.
Okay.
If we actually sell those lots, then we can change the budget on both pieces to agree to that. So I think we should do 50,000 times 6%.
Yep.
And then
Good fighting, you two.
That should put us into the black, too, which would be nice. Does anybody have any questions on anything else? It's kind of the same as last year.
So did you mention about the increase in the insurance?
No, but you can.
We
Those were cheaper,
received
yeah.
our renewals for the liability and auto insurance policies, and they were going up over 10%, close to 15% is what the amount was. And the explanation that was received from Associated Glen Falls is that it was just the market, that was the reason. It wasn't because we had any claims or anything. I do have a meeting scheduled with them for mid-November to discuss next year, but in the executive committee, the decision was made to renew our current policies because we couldn't really get a good feel for any other agents. So So I do have a meeting scheduled with them for November to do a real good explanation of the costs and how maybe we can reduce the costs for next year.
Does anybody else have a insurance background that might want to go to that meeting with her? Not really an expert on it.
Oh, I can, sure.
Yeah, just, it might be to have somebody else with you there. You know, it might be something where maybe we're due to go out to bid anyways on that next year.
How long is it bid?
A couple of years at least. Hasn't been that long, I don't think.
The only way you can really keep it all straight, because they can tell you anything when you go out with a bid, besides what the real answer is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we just didn't have enough time. I think that's probably something for next year that we should do, to start the process early enough that we've got time to make a decision. But yeah, if you don't mind, so we'll do that. That way,
So just so I understand, if we put the commission, that puts us even further in the black,
yes. Assuming we can...
or further in the red, I'm sorry.
Further in the black, because we're lowering expenses. So instead of a negative 2730, it would be a positive. Right?
Yeah. So about $6,270. And Joe?
Commission is an expense, right?
Yes.
So it's taken away from...
We're lowering our expense, which means that our net loss is going to
Right, he's
become
only putting the
positive.
commission in for the 50,000.
Yeah.
So he's lowering the cost and saying they're gonna match, and if the money comes, then you add into the budget.
So you're lowering by $9,000.
That's a nice thing.
The delta will now be about $6,300.
The nice thing is it's not a variable. So it's a fixed cost basis.
I don't know what that, it's just been
Where's he?
the application fee.
I knew where it was at. I put that
Cover
there.
a lot of our...
I was just like,
Okay.
You got it. Final approval?
Just one
Mr.
call.
Chairman?
It is.
It is not final,
Oh,
it's
it's
still a
not.
preliminary.
Okay.
No, it has to go to the counties now.
Right.
Oh, okay.
you
My
go.
first budget,
So we're going to vote on it with one
to
change.
the IDA.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the change?
You need to vote on it.
The commission going from 12,000 to 3,000. Okay, I'll move it. 50% on the fifth. I'll second.
I couldn't hear what you're saying, because there's like
Making a,
5 different conversations.
making a proposal to accept this with one change of the commission going from 12,000 to 3,000.
Okay.
I moved it, he seconded.
Okay, roll call.
Dave O'Brien,
Yes.
Phil LaFura,
Yes.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Ginny Sullivan, Nick Kymanum.
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes.
Did I understand you to say this goes back to the counties to vote on?
It does, and I didn't know that.
Well, I don't think it ever...
Yes, it always
It always does.
You're good, I don't
Yeah, it always
know,
goes to the
somebody's
county.
desk.
It always goes to the county.
Al, no.
Well, I mean, I don't think we voted on it in the 12 years.
You don't have to vote on it.
You don't
but it's-
vote on it.
Oh,
it's
we're
up to you
just
for
notified,
notification.
we don't have to vote on it.
No, but if
Okay.
it's up to the chairman if he has any issues to make an issue.
Very good.
But
That's
Al
what I wanted
Nolet
to know.
complained to us that he didn't know what we were doing, and, but in fact, should have had access to it. Probably went to you,
I've never seen
as
it.
budget officer.
No, it never came to me.
They did get them last year.
I'm not saying we didn't get it, I'm just saying it didn't
Debbie
come
may
directly
just
to
put
me.
it-
Yeah.
Put it over here.
Probably hands it to the chairman.
Debbie knows what to do.
No, Debbie doesn't anymore, Debbie's not here.
No, I saw about the other Debbie at Warren.
County
A
did.
little touchy point.
No.
Okay, we'll move on to insurance coverage, which Tammy had said that we experienced a...
Let's back up.
Oh, yeah, I did. I marked it up. You guys are really throwing me
You know how to
off
hurry
here.
along, doesn't
Wow. RFP for audit in the county. I know why I marked it.
RFP for audit accounting, we put off until next month because we're going to, one person put a bid to do both, and we've got some questions as to whether that's possible. So we're going to gather some more information to see if, and it's probably about $4,000 less than everybody else. So we want to do a little more research as to whether we're comfortable with that.
And we could be legally, but still not.
Comfortable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never thought somebody do a urine county and then do the independent audit on top of that. I thought it had to be two separate companies.
Yeah, I think that we're using the wrong word. We're gonna get back into what they actually do, because we're saying accounting, which is accounting. So we got to define exactly what they're doing when we say accounting. That's just a term we're using. It's not a good term because it does make it sound like it's not independent then. But the one accountant says that he does it for the Glens Falls IDA, and he's not making managerial decisions, not booking adjustments, he's not really doing what would be considered accounting or making not independent. So we're going to do some research to get more information on that and see if we're comfortable with that.
Next case.
Okay, review and approval of the yearly procurement policy. Mr. O'Brien.
Yes. You provided procurement policy. We redid it back in 2017 to make sure it complied with the law. So we need to review it again, as every county has to, agency. So basically, procedures for purchase of goods under $10,000, $0 to $500, discretion of chairman or authorized designee, $500 to $3,000. Agency approved may be purchased from vendor with pre-verbal quotes. $3,000 to $10,000 upon agency approval may be purchased from vendor providing the lowest quote after receiving at least 3 written faxes. And then it goes in for public works and services. How much? We've done some of that, but under $20,000. So, you've had a chance to read it. Any more questions on it, or?
Nope.
Now, when it says public works or services, the public works is specific. Is services specific here? Is it public services or is it professional services?
I thought I saw professional services.
They're separate.
Are exceptions from bidding. Include services require special education training, license to practice rather or creative in nature, blah, blah, blah. So professional services under the IDA are exempted from RFPs. I imagine they're talking about engineering services or other type of services like that. Don't see the definition of services. So
So what if it's the purchase of goods over $10,000? I go by a different standard.
over $10,000, I think that's with RFP. I don't see it here.
I don't think that's...
Huh? Yeah, the same thing with over works or services under 20,000.
I don't see the
Goes
statement
over
here.
that, it would be bid.
But over that, it has to be bid. We should put a statement in there someplace that says that it should be over 10,000 in purchase of goods or public works and services. Over 20,000 should be put out for RFP.
RFP go to bid. That's what the law says.
So we just have to add that as D.
Add those for bidding, over 10,000 has to be bid for purchase of goods, over 20,000 has to be RFP. Public works.
Over 20 should get required. I mean, I know the town laws.
Over?
Over 20 goes to bid. I think that's the same.
That's the general municipal law, correct? Anything below that, you're just required to do whatever you can. Essentially, it's an open book to the agency to do whatever you can to get the best deal.
It's at a lower level than the municipal law. It does say
Right.
20 and you go to
Tammy,
bid.
you know what you need to change with that, or do you need verbiage or something?
I'll do it and send it to Mike for review.
Terrific.
Okay. Good. Bring it back next month or once it's done for approval.
Okay, we'll go into the insurance company.
Finally.
Let's talk about, the insurance went up, and we talked about this a little while ago. Timmy explained it. We had planned on continuing with it this year, and then we'll put it out for a bid next time around. So we would need a resolution to continue that.
We need a resolution.
What do you think?
How much is it?
Yeah, what's 10% is 10%, but is it 10% of 100,000 or 10,000?
No, it is, one policy was going up $200, the other was going up $189.
No, I know, they said okay.
So it went like 903 and...
No, I think the combined numbers.
Yeah, I just...
You think so? Okay.
It can't hurt.
It's just anything with dollars and you just have yourself covered.
Yeah.
Oh, it's worth it, yeah, to go out to bid, but I mean, I can see why they did this.
No, I meant to do a
Yeah,
resolution to continue it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just,
Yeah, that's fine.
Anytime
you got
someone's
time.
signing something. Anytime someone's signing something like the press release.
Yeah, I'll second it. Go.
Okay. Craig. Second by Nick.
What do we do?
Second by Aaron. Insurance.
On a motion.
Yeah, we already did.
Okay.
I'm just answering your question.
Need a vote.
Roll call.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes.
Bill LaCira.
Yes.
Craig Liggett.
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson. Ginny Sullivan. Yes. Nick Caimano.
Yes.
Mike Wild.
Yes.
And Matt Simpson.
Yes. Just under Time Warner upgrade, it was a mandatory upgrade.
It was a mandatory upgrade.
They increased the speed. Well, go ahead. Do you
Yeah,
want
it
to
was-
speak about it?
We had like an unheard of level of internet service, and I apologize. I don't remember.
7 megabyte download.
Yeah, 7 megabyte download, and I was trying to send emails out to the board. It was taking me 3 days to send an email. So we had no choice. We had to upgrade it. And that was the increase in the Time Warner bill. And that Time Warner bill includes our phone service. We have it as a backup phone voicemail.
Any questions on it? You're looking like you have a question.
No?
Okay.
Like unheard of was to the negative, not to the positive.
Can we just change the name?
Cost benefit analysis, concerns and
Can we just change
suggestions?
the name?
Change the name of
Yeah,
it.
look,
We don't have
last
that.
summer, I was reading the
That
paper.
power bill still comes through as Time Warner. It
Oh, do
doesn't
they?
come through as Spectrum.
Sorry.
Okay,
But
good,
But
thank
it
you.
should be.
So
Something
they're
else.
behind with more than their speed.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go into the cost benefit analysis, concerns and suggestions.
I'm just reading an article last summer about the amazing amount of additional occupancy tax that the county had received in 2017. It's gone way up. And it struck me that part of that was probably the new hotel in Marriott, and maybe the one at Exit 18 had opened would contribute to that. But what struck me was when we do the cost-benefit analysis, we did not take into account the occupancy tax that the county would be getting, and that's a benefit. The cost is the lost tax revenue, the way of sales tax, mortgage tax, and pilot tax. In that case, there wasn't any. But the benefit is the investment, sales tax that they, during operations, employment, and for a hotel project, it just seemed to me we should consider the occupancy tax as a bonus, as a plus. The other thing I thought, when you're doing it, it's a 10-year picture, right? Because that's typically when the pilot lasts 10 years. So the cost-benefit analysis gives you a picture of the cost during the 10-year period and the benefit during that 10-year period. But after the 10-year period, the benefits continue. But that's never factored into the cost-benefit analysis. And I just threw that out there for food for thought.
But the question is, can our software
Our software cannot, I checked with them, it does not.
can't have the occupancy tax?
No.
But it's-
We can do it manually.
The benefits will go. Yeah, we could still put it as a...
We would have to do that manually. figure out somehow a way to do, if you decide to do that, but it seems like it should be considered.
Guys should consider it, right?
So would,
At least in Warren County. Washington County doesn't have an occupancy tax, does it?
yeah,
We do.
we just don't get much.
We don't have any hotels.
And what do you do with it? You guys gonna take it up in
The
finance?
question is if you have a new hotel move in, do the old hotels lose occupancy tax on the new ones? Does it balance off? I'd just be curious to find that out.
Well,
Because
part
they're
of the
also-
reason why we approved the Marriott was that they had certain facilities that were going to allow them to bring in bigger events. And so we actually thought that there was going to be some offshoot of occupancy to other hotels and motels at it, just like Saratoga, a cheaper version, because basically not everybody wants to pay the price to go to the Marriott, even though they might be going to an event there. So they'll go try to get a better deal from the Comfort Inn down the street. So there's going to be actually might increase occupancy tax because of them being there.
I was just curious, because I think that if they saw the spike, that new person looking at the occupancy tax found out that it was just earlier reporting. Did it continue to be that big increase in Warren County or not?
He just wasn't collecting it in the past, and he now is collecting it. They were...
Yeah, the number that was reported, I believe, was inflated a little bit considering what we're ending up looking at now. There was a spike, and there was a projection that might continue, but it wasn't quite a spike that was
Was more of a
reported.
shift in timing than anything else?
Some of it, I believe, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of it was
Reporting.
Our reporting,
How it's reported.
and then the second part of it, there was some more due diligence by our team going out and auditing some properties. But I would hesitate to account occupancy tax the same way I would account something like sales tax. Because sales tax drops to a certain line in the budget where you could do just about anything with, but occ tax is specifically for tourism, supposedly tourism-related things, and the return on that is not necessarily a one-to-one kind of return.
It would be different, but going back to what he said, you will attract more at a venue because now there'll be more rooms near that venue. So it won't be one-to-one, but it should be significant.
You know, there's a discussion in our tourism department and the CVB about capacity. So as you add more capacity, are you really starting to pull more people into the area, or are you pulling away from some other properties that, right?
Yeah, no,
So, you know, it's not an easy...
But I think you're looking at chasing balloons in the wind. For us.
A way to look at it. Yeah.
One of the things you could use, though,
That's very polite.
is the room nights, because we track room nights, and if you see a trend, I mean, it's hard to put into an application, but, as an overall evaluation of if you're doing these hotels and you see a trend that's in the positive direction, maybe that's
Overall.
connected.
You've got to look overall. You can't just look at one property.
Well, it's got to be a percentage, that doesn't, I mean, as a percentage of available, how many rooms we actually, the inventory.
Wasn't part of the reason they did it Exit 18 was they're going to draw from Saratoga because...
Yeah, you can't underestimate that, because that's a
I don't know.
That's a
Saratoga was
big
almost
number. Because Saratoga, there's weekends in Saratoga where, there's some weekends where you can get something for $220 or $225. There's other weekends, even non-summer, where you can't get anything for less than $300, which basically means to go up to Exit 18 to stay at the Holiday Inn Express is at $149 with a free breakfast is very appealing to people. And so I think that a lot of these hotels that are kind of going at Exit 18 or 19 are getting a lot of business from that overflow from Saratoga.
It would be hard pressed to kind of put a number and a cost-benefit analysis on that.
No, you
because
can't.
That's blowing more smoke than, we used to have no smoke-filled rooms.
You and I would lose our hair figuring that out.
The other thing about this
Trying
one
fast.
particular project was during the winter, it's hard to attract people if you don't have a property like that in this area. You got to have, those places close up for the winter.
Right.
And north of Lake George, they're all closed up because of the infrastructure.
It's just, the point is just that you got to have a little bit of caution.
Right.
Behind those numbers.
I think the point is also, if it's not in the software program, I mean, who cares? That software program, is not what It's there to help us, maybe if it helps us, but this discussion shows it probably doesn't. I mean, you look at that software program, it goes ahead and you say 50 people, it says 60. What do you say? What do you mean? I said 50. No, because you've got induced, you've got
Plumbers.
indirect, you've got... Okay, so if you create a new job, you need a new butcher, you need a new baker, you need a new candlestick maker. Okay, and so that all goes in there. But on the other hand, for instance, Craig made a great comment about Equistock. It may have a positive effect on the logging industry. So you can look at that too, and I can guarantee you that's not in the software program either. So, I think you need to look at that. Another great example, one that has gotten me upset in the past, is it says that we have 600 more doctors or people here at Glens Falls Hospital, when really all they did was they went ahead and they were being on their own, and now they're being billed by Glens Falls. I mean, it's still the same.
It's no different, same
No,
people.
but if you look at the LDC's output to Paris, it says there's 600 more jobs. That's not true.
Wow. It's going to be all the medical centers.
Yeah. Oh, because the hospital's absorbing practices, right?
Yeah. Right. They went with their local health centers, so they were just employed by the
What
same
happens when we have a
people.
little recession and the tourism goes down?
Okay, next topic, next item is sexual harassment policy. I think,
There has been a new sexual harassment policy come out by the state. Update our sexual harassment policy based on new requirements of New York City.
I was going to actually comment on that as well, is that you're correct, and it was included in the 2019 budget for the state, that there's, the state is a model policy and has training that applies to all employers in the state of New York, including if you have one employee, so if you own a small business or a charging municipality, you're probably already aware of that, but yeah, that is something.
Yeah, we're going to need to do training, and I don't think it just applies to Tammy, I think it's going to apply to all of us.
Correct.
Applies to who? It doesn't just apply to our, we have to do
Why
training.
me?
My employee
Even though
is
we
my
only have
wife.
one employee, but it's also...
Good question.
Our board.
I don't want to give you legal advice, but I don't know.
okay, we've got like 4 different, excuse me, hold on. Mr. Biddle.
So this was implemented by the state and the DOL on October 1. Supposed to be in effect on October 9. We are currently out of compliance, just a footnote.
They extended that, I think, until next September.
October
The
9.
policy was still October.
October 9 in writing, so we need to update post haste. The awesome organization called the Adirondack Regional Chambers of Commerce worked with the Department of Labor and the Governor's Office to extend the training to October 9th of 2019. It was December 31st, 2018, which would have been unreasonable. It does say in the statute also not just paid employees, but volunteers. Interns, that would be Mr. Campbell, and the balance. And if you are trained at your own job, like Glens Falls National Bank is, it doesn't matter, because this policy, we can't go on the notion that the Glens Falls National Bank, even though I would, has a right and proper sexual harassment policy.
It also includes vendors if they're spending time at your location, so, like Glens Falls National, the cleaning people, the people like that are there on a regular basis, would also have to be trained by Glens Falls National.
So Mike, all of your people who might be trained in their own businesses, when they come on to volunteer for one of your boards, they got to be part of that too?
Yes, and it's not a requirement to get a signed acknowledgement, but I required all of our staff and our board of directors to sign off on the sexual harassment policy. And I will train all staff members and every volunteer board member by October 9 of next year.
You personally?
No. There's different options on that. We actually had hired Gail Hamill to update the procedure, to update the policy, and then we're going to actually interact with Stored Tech, which has a computer program to be able to do that. And you have to have somebody present there on the other end to answer questions.
So what are we going to do?
Wow. So since it came out in the budget, was there a line item? Was there a number?
I'm not sure how the governor did it. I don't know.
Neither is he.
You expect stuff in the budget that
It
comes
does
out
not
should
come out of the
should
New
be
York
about
State
dollars,
budget. It's
not be
coming
about...
out of everybody
Yeah.
else's high.
Usually the number.
Well, one thing, we're getting a little loose where it's getting really hard for me to follow as chair, so we gotta have people, we gotta have one conversation, please raise your hand, and let me call on you, because it's just getting really difficult. Thanks. Craig?
Thank you.
I'm it's just gotten loose here today.
The town of Chester adopted a policy, we just took it off the website from the state, changed the names to protect the innocent there, that's town of Chester versus state of New York, seems to be pretty simple. I think we can probably do that for this organization as well, and that's an acceptable policy. We can bring it up for review and adopt at our next month's meeting. And then I guess setting timetable on training, talking to Human Services here at the county, they're trying to do an online version of it and have get vendor so that can provide that. So we may have access to the training as well if we talk nicely.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Right.
In our county, we actually send out the safety officer. He does it regionally. So anybody from the school, from the towns do it. They can all go. It works.
If everybody's doing it, it could be a good event for the IDA. Look, big tent, barbecue, come to sexual harassment training.
Barbecue comes with our salaries. Guess we better not have beer tasting then.
Okay.
Place to start.
And I'd like an opinion from the good folks at FMVF. If you read the law verbatim, as I've read the law verbatim, it actually extends past work hours. Just to let you know that this is not just if we're in this meeting, but it's as a representative of this group, off hours.
Really?
Can't sexually harass at any point. At any point. I don't know.
I'd have to give it a read, looking for that in context, but in what I read, I didn't see that it didn't say that, so I'd want to confirm
Right.
that language.
Right, if you'd be so kind just to see, that's how I read it, and have been very upfront with the staff.
Mike says a lot about this in our town. They're saying everybody that gets a check from the town of Salem has to attend this training, which just got canceled by Mr. Slezio for some reason. But planning board members don't. They don't get a check from us. In your opinion?
It says volunteers. It's in the law. You might want to ask the esteemed Esquires here, but that's how I read it. It said volunteer on several pages, and says it again.
They're appointed. They don't necessarily volunteer.
Oh, no, that's a volunteer.
Bruce, they would definitely.
Yeah.
They would definitely be part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else before Hunter?
I'm sorry, did we decide something with that?
Yes, he's gonna...
I'll have a draft to the chairman tomorrow, and I think if that works with everyone, that could be something to vote on at the next meeting.
We're going to have training.
We're gonna have to have training.
Okay.
We've got time for that.
Got time for that.
Good.
It's more expensive.
I just received this letter. We may be able to have a representative from the Associates of Glens Falls, our insurance carrier, come and do the training. It's possible.
That'd be good.
Chairman, I missed what you said. I apologize.
I'm trying to read this letter and speak about it. We may be able to have drawn our insurance company, Associates of Glens Falls, for help with this training requirement.
I received that letter as well. Is it free? I can't recall.
It doesn't say.
Probably not.
Or point of contact or...
There's a lot of third-party vendors that are getting into that right now that are, so it might be something to
Part of it. Here, sweeten up your attic.
Okay, IDA education.
Oh, sure.
This is our educational moment.
I'll try to go quick.
Please don't.
So, to put this together, I kind of looked at, based on what the ABO seemed to have been looking at, I took a hard look at the policies and procedures as they currently exist and how the board is supposed to address applications as they come in. Broadly, start from the beginning, kind of where I began these talks a few months ago. Again, pursuant to Section 858 of the GML and Section 3 of the policies and procedures of this agency, the purposes of the agency are, and this is a mouthful, to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, improving, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing industrial, manufacturing, warehousing, commercial, research, and recreational facilities, including industrial pollution control facilities, educational or cultural facilities, railroad facilities, horse racing facilities, and continuing care retirement communities, and thereby advance the job opportunities, health, general prosperity, and economic welfare of the counties of Warren and Washington and the residents thereof, and to improve their recreational opportunities, prosperity, and standard of living. That's the purpose of this agency. The most common mechanism for pursuing that purpose, as we all know, is the lease-back arrangements and the pilot agreements. As is usually the case, the first the agency will hear of a project is when the project submits an application. The application is a 19-page document that requests various nuts and bolts information as simple as the name and address of the applicant, the location of the project, to more specific information relating to the nature of the proposed project, its environmental, tax, and local economic impacts. So when an application first comes in, it's submitted to the administrator with its supporting documentation. From there, it's given a review by the administrator, the executive committee, and agency council. If at that time there's any additional information needed, it's requested from the applicant, and from there goes to the financial committee and is again evaluated, with additional documentation being requested if necessary. From there, the application is given a detailed review by legal counsel, including a review of the environmental assessment at that time, and then the application supporting documentation is delivered to the members for their review. That's how it's in the policies and procedures manual. If that's something that we can aspire to, if that's not if that's not currently the way it's done. In considering applications, the policies and procedures manual details specifically the criteria that the agency must follow in evaluating those applications. First, the agency is supposed to consider the project's feasibility and examine the application for evidence that the costs are reasonable, a reasonable business plan exists, that appropriate management and accounting capabilities are in place, that there's a market for the proposed project, and that the revenue estimated is reasonable and the sources of project funds will be firmly committed prior to the project closing. Second, the agency should consider the impact on the local economy. Measures that the IDA can consider in evaluating the impact on the local economy are the jobs created and retained during construction as well as regular operation, tax abatements being requested, the total cost of the project, the time for completion, the characteristics of the project use, and the uniqueness of any service or product provided, and the effect on existing businesses. So again, this is kind of a snapshot of Section 3 of the Policy and Procedures Manual, details the path of the application and the criteria that are supposed to be considered by the agency in evaluating those applications. By no means is it exclusive. The agency is free to consider anything in pursuit of that very, very long statement of its objectives, but as long as using those as a scaffold to evaluate the applications, that's your job. That's a mouthful. Any questions?
Right. To the earlier comment about moving to the 21st century or whatever with all this, is there more than the two major things you've mentioned? Is there something else we can do that's of that magnitude, or is everything of far lesser magnitude?
What are the two things? What do you mean, like?
You mentioned the first two, the pilots and the...
the lease back and pilots. Those are pretty much go in conjunction. The tax-free bonding is really the other option. I'm not sure really what else. That's pretty much our two weapons in our wheelhouse.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, until the state gives the IDAs more powers, that's pretty much what the tools in the toolbox.
When you look at that, in the past, maybe you get a manufacturing company like Collinsworth and Bose or something, build a factory, you give them. Now we're very much a service oriented. Everything's done. Manufacturing's done in China, so in China. You wonder now when we give these benefits, they're really going to the developer. A lot of these things. I mean, you saw Tribune Media, BBL Tribune. I mean, it went to the developer, kind of like. And these are the things I think that need to be looked at, and in particular, if we can help service organizations somehow. I'm not exactly sure how.
Yeah, I think those are all things that can be considered. It's the IDA's power is very broad. It has a lot of things it can consider, and its scope is very broad. So really, it's up to the members to target that. Play with those factors and see what direction the board wants to take with the various applications.
I do think the board should take a look at the tax abatement policy. It was adopted over 20 years ago, and it should be looked at closely. Maybe a committee should be appointed and look at what other counties are doing and update it, because it's 20 years old, and I think it needs a good looking at.
Bob, that's the 50%, 10.
The whole tax abatement policy goes over, a lot of things you're going to consider here. But what companies are going to get 100% tax abatement for 5 years and 50%? What ones are going to get 50%? What are the criteria to get those? That's a tax abatement policy needs to be adopted by this agency. You read through the one from 20 years ago, a lot of gray areas, and I think under today's world, it needs to be upgraded.
Sure. Thanks. In regards to that, though, in essence, we are competing with other counties to try to get these businesses.
Not supposed to.
But in reality, we do, right? So I wonder if we tighten up that policy, whether it kind of limits our creativity, so to speak.
Well, I'm just suggesting you better look at it.
Sure, Brian.
We are competing against other IDAs who go farther with their length of time than we do. We have not done really more than a 10-year pilot. There are counties doing 15 and 20-year pilots. So, again, there was one that I'm thinking of was a neighboring county down in Saratoga who did for the Global Foundries down there. They did like 20 years. And there were some other sweet things in it, which is one thing, one of the people in Warren County is trying to model after that and come to us with that. And I don't think it works for us like it did for them, because the scope is much different, but we are going against that, and we'll see what happens, especially if we have a new industrial park in this area.
Mr. Biddle?
I was just going to say, with Mr. Morris's suggestion at looking at it was more so, I was looking at it as an opportunity to expand it, not contract it, and to be more competitive against others.
The other point is, realistically, we have to evaluate every business that comes and asks for a pilot. We at least have to investigate whether it fits our criteria, and how do we reach out to organizations and say, hey, we have pilots, come see us. If that sector is not coming to us, what do we do? How do we get that? We may not be able to see those. I don't know the reasons why, but part may be because of competition. In other counties provides better benefits or not. I also do think that we need to take a harder look at the pilot group, sales tax abatement, to see whether or not they could afford to do it with or without. But again, the point is, we're competing against other counties, whether or not we want to say that or not. And I'd hate to see a big potential employer trying to come in here and it just doesn't fit our terms, because Saratoga County and other county law is a lot better.
Are you volunteering to chair that committee? Mr. Biddle?
The other one is if we were to expand, and again, you still have catch-alls. If you say you expanded it to 20 years on a bond, you don't have to give that. You still have to meet criteria within it. We still have the scope and ability to say, no, you're 10 because of this. You're 20 if you did this. But the other part is, would be able to expand and let Empire State Development know that. We could have a key list of 5 to 10 government and private entities that could get that word out for us.
Okay. Good.
Who's going to take the lead on this?
Dave is the first volunteer.
I've got too much on my plate right now. Another organization I'm working on.
Mr. Biddle?
Yeah, give me a couple months on it, though.
Anybody want to work with our new esteemed CEO, CFO on this?
I can do
You
Go ahead.
You got it? I got to think about it. Hold on.
You let me know.
Mr. Wild, that'd be my pleasure.
I'd help with it too. I'd help with
Mr.
another month before I'm allowed to.
No, it's Mr. Whitehead and Mr.
Assuming
Wild.
the vote goes well. As soon as she gets the information, it was passed.
Mr. Wild.
On a note of competition, and just a matter of information for myself, I understand that our EDC has some property, and our EDC may have the ability to grab some more property from Warren County. It almost appears to me, from a newbie, that there's two agencies doing similar things, and I'm sure that we have that all over the place. But my sense was, when I accepted this appointment to the board, that we're the ones that had the property, and we were the ones that are going to be out trying to create some economic activity. And if the EDC has property and we have property, do we end up competing with each other, and how do we impact and try to not let that happen?
We should. We should be showing everybody everything, but I don't know if the EDC actually does that.
Does the EDC have tax exempt status?
Well, the
Or property be owned?
the EDC could bring projects to us if they, if they have land that they're going to sell to somebody. They could bring the project to us for the benefits.
But they have property in Queensbury, right? In
Yeah.
the industrial park over there?
Yeah.
Does that make sense for two different entities having industrial development?
No, but that's the way it is. And they haven't sold a lot.
So how do we get it? Do we ask nicely?
How do we get it? They have the options with Warren County
Suggestions
on it right now.
Do we need to go in executive session and have a free discussion about this?
Well,
Mr. Biddle?
as far as I know, the EDC property there on Airport Road is wetter than ours, just from, so they presented.
The problem over there is cost of putting in anything in the ground. The only reason they bought that property was to move the
National
Armor.
Park. Okay? They found out when they started selling it that it cost gazillions of dollars to blast the rocks out of the ground, and nobody's going to buy those lots.
So, not wet, but rock. I think the real rock.
Both are a problem.
I think the real issue is that there's potentially another 400-acre industrial park going to be open in Washington County. That would be more of a concern to me than what we have here. I don't think they have or will have tax exempt status, and they certainly would have to come to us for pilots. But that's a flag right there.
Who's doing that?
They will have to do a dewatering facility over there. If we ever come to agreement on the best taxes.
You have another 50 acres right next to your property that you could get if you want. We might want to talk to Warren County about that, but county recently purchased 60 or 70 acres, only paid a nickel on the dollar for it, and they're going to ask for the FAA to declare it surplus at some point. And that's mostly it's owned by Warren County, but it's mostly in Washington County. There's access to Queensberry Avenue, a lot that's owned, again, by the same Warren County, that is in Warren County. It opens up 50 acres right there.
I told the chairman of the board that I expected to be able to secure that for 5 cents on the dollar. I'm waiting for,
Waiting to see that happen.
if not free.
They don't need it.
First thing you need to do is ask the FAA to surplus it.
I'm not sure I got my question answered.
I don't even remember the question.
Well,
It had to do with the...
I'm gonna have to, I'll have to now, I might have to recuse myself from it, because I've been appointed to the EDC board. So if I...
So you're part of the problem.
I just got appointed, I don't know, I haven't done anything. I've only been to
So he's
3 meetings.
So he's in conflict.
So I don't know.
And I apologize, guys, I'm new, but it just seems like there's duplicative effort, and we should be all pushing in the same direction instead of sometimes inherently, naturally competing with one another.
So you may not be the problem, you may be the solution, since
If
you're
we
on
can.
both boards.
I think he's got a conflict, you know.
Conflict of interest.
It might not be a conflict, it might bring everything here.
Yeah, it might, because I'm, over the years, I've always felt that the Economic Development Corp didn't always bring people out to see our lots, only worried about their own. And there were times where you felt like that you were competing with them instead of, to me, it's, as long as it comes here, who cares who gets it? And why would you not show everybody everything that you have to offer? But I haven't always felt that they've done that. And part of it's the pressure to not make money, but offset what the county's given for funding. So that definitely, so I think it'd be good if you're on that, because maybe it'll help back and forth.
Okay.
So you'll recuse yourself.
Do you want me to tell him that you want the lot?
As you go on.
Well, I think we heard we don't know if we really want those lots.
But just because of the wetland status, it may not be a conflict unless it's really one.
We'll have more discussions. Maybe we need to have a discussion with the EDC. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay, anything else before the IDA? Motion to adjourn? All in favor? Carried.
Proud.
Yeah, CDC. Wow.
Where do you live?
We're gonna pack up my stuff.
You and I can leave anytime we want.
Come over with them there.
Oh, okay. I've got my own car.
I think I have.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Bank.
I volunteer.
I gotta find my...
I raised my hand.
Good one? Get appointed right along when you become IDA member. I don't think so.
Get those
Okay. Call the Warren County Civic Development Corporation.
We have another.
Oh.
Travis, we're not done.
Huh? We done?
Hopefully this week. Is this guy's CEO, CFO, whatever else?
We have to appoint him here, but I need to open the meeting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, call the meeting to order. The Warren County CDC. First thing will be roll call. We gotta confirm attendance.
Dave O'Brien,
Travis.
Joe LaFura,
Yep.
Craig Leggett, Bruce Ferguson, Ginny Sullivan, Nick Camano,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes. Okay, need approval of the minutes of the last board meeting, August 13th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, there was a quorum. I needed to clear up before, do that. I needed to declare that.
Sorry about that, Jim.
Need to declare that we have established a quorum here. Okay, now we have a motion and a second on the approval of the minutes of the last board meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, payments reimbursed by developer. The Adirondack Housing Association, we received $2,000.
What is that?
That was legal fees.
Who is the Adirondack Housing Association?
The Adirondack.
Okay, new business, preliminary budget 2019.
Yep. Turn to the budget. Pages in. No big changes. We're kind of keeping everything the same. You don't know when these projects kind of few and far between. So you don't know if you're going to have a project, so we just go with the 23,000. We leave money, we transfer most of the money over to the IDA that we make in this CDC. But we keep enough money in there to cover us for 3 or 4 years of the overhead expenses. So if nothing happens, we're really only going to have the expense lines, accounting fees and the insurance and the miscellaneous. So it basically costs us a couple $1,000s to operate each year.
Move it.
Second.
Second. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Dave O'Brien.
Yes.
Lucira. Craig Leggett. Bruce Ferguson. Jenny Sullivan. Nick Caimano.
Yes.
Mike Wild.
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes. Okay, transfer of funds from CDC to IDA. Joe? Gotta know what we're...
$45,000.
Okay.
Really what we made in 60. We're moving over. We're kind of just a little late doing it.
That's right. Roll call.
Dave O'Brien. Joe Lucira.
Yes.
Craig Leggett. Bruce Ferguson. Jenny Sullivan. Nick Caimano.
Yes.
Mike Wild.
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes. RFP for year-end accounting and audit services.
Same as the other one. It's off a month until we get some more information.
Okay. Procurement policy. We want to make the change. Okay, the sexual harassment policy, our attorneys are going to follow up with a draft, and we'll move forward with that. Anything else before the CDC? We got to appoint the CFO.
I'll move it.
Do we have a second?
Second. You want me to step out of the room?
Roll
Yes.
call.
Pretty common.
Roll call.
Too late now, you're in it.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes.
Joe Lucira.
Yes.
Craig Leggett.
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson. Jenny Sullivan. Nick Caimano.
Yes.
Mike Wild.
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes.
I'm going to change my vote now.
Under duress.
Now you have 2 things for your resignation.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.